Chapter 3795. The show was very successful, and Dong Yuyu and Chi Zhan's relationship made the show even more popular. Even the supporting roles came up from the bottom. They were very grateful for this and always respected Fong Qianxi and Luo Qingchun. After the show, Luo Qingchun's popularity was even higher than Fong Qianxi's. In the past, the netizens always felt that Luo Qingchun was not good enough for Fong Qianxi, but now, she was different from Mr. Fong. Mr. Fong's fans were all young ladies, and her fans, if one had to describe it, it would probably be both men and women. She was not only the goddess of male otakus, but also the idol of many young fans. In less than 3 months, Luo Qingchun's Weibo fans were almost more than Fong Qianxi's. In order to prevent others from stealing his wife, Mr. Fong announced the wedding time in a very high-profile way. Their wedding was very grand. It was the wedding of the nation's Prince Charming. Almost half of the entire entertainment industry was present. At the wedding, he announced that he would quit the entertainment industry from now on. Everyone thought that Fong Qianxi was just talking nonsense because she was drunk at the wedding. But in fact, such a decision was also in his plan. He was not sure if he would let Luo Qingchun enter the entertainment industry. Not to mention kissing a male star, he felt that even holding hands would make him angry. Therefore, he could not make things difficult for himself. Only when he withdrew from the entertainment industry himself could he make her withdraw from the entertainment industry in a dignified manner. It turned out that his plan was very successful. After he told Luo Qingchun about it, Luo Qingchun was very surprised. You really want to quit the entertainment industry? Yes. Why? Fong Qianxi was silent for 2 seconds, looked at her deeply, and said, "Because I don't want you to enter." His honest words made her laugh instead. She smiled mischievously and said, "I thought you were just at Sundara, but now it seems that you are also very possessive." Before she finished, Fong Qianxi kissed her lips without hesitation. Tyrannical and lingering, she tossed and turned. It was as if he was using his actions to tell her what possessiveness was. Luo Qingchun's heart was filled with regret. Knowing that Fong Qianxi was so possessive, she should not have said that. After a long time, Fong Qianxi slowly let go of her, her deep eyes shining. "My dear wife, do you want to apologize?" "No." Luo Qingchun's eyebrows moved slightly. She glared at him and said, "You have already punished me, and you still want me to apologize? How can there be such a cheap thing in this world?" She expressed that she was not convinced. "Absolutely not." "Are you sure?" Fong Qianxi asked, a meaningful smile in her eyes. Luo Qingchun felt that this smile was full of trickery, but she still nodded resolutely. "I'm very sure. You have a backbone." The next second, he bent down and picked her up by the waist. He kissed her lips and said, "The kiss just now was just the prelude. Why don't we take advantage of the moonlight and exercise?" What the hell? In an instant, before Luo Qingchun realized what was going on, she was already on the bed. After a round of tossing and turning, they panted lightly several times. This was what they did most often after leaving the entertainment industry. End. Chapter 3796. I love you, day after day, night after night, year after year, year after year in this life. Fong Qianxi was very outstanding since I was a child. So no matter what happened, I was arrogant to a certain extent. I knew that arrogance was a disease, but I just didn't want to treat it. One time, I accompanied a friend to an audition. The director felt that I was very suitable, so he talked to me privately. I didn't agree. At that time, I didn't know the depth of the entertainment industry. He said, "If you don't agree, your friend will never be able to enter this industry." In the end, I still didn't agree. My friend naturally wasn't chosen. But with my personality, how could I let the director go like this? About a month later, I found a script that I thought was good and directly sponsored it as an investor. And I let my friend play the male lead. Because he was diagnosed with a serious illness in the first week of filming, he could only receive treatment. And even if he received treatment, there was no guarantee that he would survive. I asked him, "What do you want?" He said, "To play the male lead instead of me." I was not a person who would follow the wishes of others. even if they were good friends. But in the face of life and death, many things seemed to be unimportant. I promised him to play the male lead of this script. I chose this script, so I naturally knew that he would be popular. It turned out that my life had always been the same as I predicted, without any errors. But how could there be no accidents in life? Her appearance was the only error in my life. At that time, I was already the national Prince Charming in everyone's mind. In fact, these 4 words had no effect on me at all, and I had never been affected by others giving me this title. For me, it was better to meet her for the first time in the elevator. Her face was written all over. Stalker. At that time, I felt angry and funny. Of course, I deliberately said to her that I thought she was a robber. But the fact was, how could there be such a beautiful robber in this world? She turned around proudly, and I will never forget the expression on her face when she walked into her house with those keys. I think probably at that time, I already fell in love with her at first sight. It was just that I didn't know. But when people are in danger, the figure of the person they care about will unconsciously flash in their mind. In fact, before the earthquake, I never thought that she would flash in my mind. Even I was shocked by the image in my mind. He had already uncontrollably pressed the doorbell of her house. She was wrapped in a towel and didn't look flustered at all. When she saw me, she was startled. When we were in the bathroom, we kept arguing with each other. What she did not know was that when she said Fong Chinxi's name, I was so happy. It was a feeling that all the pride in his heart had been satisfied. Although I have never felt dissatisfied, the satisfaction she gives me is different from others. It was probably at that time that I was certain that she would become the most special person in my life. I hoped that it would be my lover, so I worked hard to make a big plan. If this plan had to be named, perhaps it should be how to make people all over the world think of Fong Chinxi when they hear the name Luo Qingxin. I know that there are paparazzi near my house. I'm a person who doesn't like others to disturb my private life, no matter if it's a man or a woman. Chapter 3797. But her appearance made me feel that the paparazzi profession was high and mighty, as if her entire body was shining with a golden light. I contacted my friend and asked him to help. Other than him, I also found other paparazzi to find a way to secretly take pictures of the sweet interactions between me and her. I think I'm probably the only person in the world who wants to use this method to expose our relationship. As for our relationship, even if there was no relationship at the time, I would definitely make it real. From the day I decided to participate in the Plain CP show, that was the day my plan truly began. When I saw her walk into the performance hall, the corner of my mouth would unconsciously rise. Under the calm and indifferent exterior, there was definitely a restless and burning heart. I understood this point more than anyone else. I was waiting for the moment she went on stage and demonstrated what a kissing scene was in front of everyone. This was my plan from the beginning. Xiao Pang has been my assistant for so many years. It was all a reward for him. Actually, the moment I kissed her, I wasn't as calm as I appeared on the surface. I was also very nervous. That was also my first kiss. But she seemed to be quite skilled in responding after being flustered. My heart silently felt bad for a long time. After getting married, we once unintentionally discussed this issue. She confidently and cutely told me that it was also her first kiss in her life. Although the answer was no longer important to me, I was still very happy when I heard her tell me this. The story between me and her seemed to be moving in the direction I wanted it to go. From the plain CP show to the online game, perhaps the planning process was very complicated, but the goal was very simple. I just want to be by her side, be by her side, be by her side. It was fine as long as I was by her side, whether it was in the game or in reality. She made me worry less, but sometimes she was very muddle-headed. But so what? It was fine as long as I was there. I had experienced the darkest half an hour. I stepped on the gas pedal, and my mind was completely blank. I didn't even know how I got home. I didn't know if I bumped into anyone on the way. My mind was filled with terrifying scenes. My heart was wildly beating uncontrollably. I knew that I was scared, very, very scared. This fear was like the darkness of hell, enveloping me in layers. Good, she's fine. What she didn't know was that when we were in the elevator, I had thought about what I would do if something really happened to her. When the elevator reached the 32nd floor with a ding sound, the door opened. I think I know the answer. If she lives, I live. If she dies, I die. I don't know if I will meet her again in my next life. Will we have such a romantic encounter? Such a sweet love? What if we meet her in our next life, but can't get what we want? That's why I want to use all my strength to give her the best things in this life. In this life, she gave me a lot of happiness. I even started to fear that we would grow old after 2 or 3 years. I was afraid that this life would pass too quickly and that the time we spent together would be too short. People always say that a lifetime is very long. But in fact, if you meet someone you love very, very much, you will find that a lifetime is actually very short. What people often say is a glimpse. I think that was what she looked like when I first saw her. Love at first sight, that was not the case. But I loved her year after year. Ding! Congratulations on bringing a soul fragment into the lead god space. 65 out of 100. Chapter 3798. When she opened her eyes, she was in the chaos space. Luo Qingchun blinked. There was a sweet feeling that lingered in her heart that wouldn't fade for a long time. This story really was sweet. It was so sweet that when she thought about it, her lips couldn't help curling into a smile. In this world, from meeting to knowing each other to loving each other, everything seemed to be just right. Actually, it wasn't just right, but a certain Mr. Fong had calculated everything perfectly. Welcome back to the chaos space. The following is a summary of the mission. The system's tone was very happy, like it was also very happy. Name: Luo Qingchen World. Internet addicted girl. Proud male god lives next door. Mission completion rate: 100% experience. 7,000/10,000. There are currently 5 items in the spatial storage. 4/5 exquisite ring. 9-section moon whip. Phoenix dance sword. Universal medicine box. Permanent abilities. Space and time freeze level 7 permanent abilities. Teleport level 6 permanent abilities. Telekinesis level 3 exchange points. 4,500. You've obtained a special ability from the main god, one time. You can use it in any world. The host's 57th mission panel is below. Appearance: 100 out of 100 strength, 100 out of 100 intelligence, 100 out of 100 figure, 100 out of 100. After that, the image in the bronze mirror changed. Mission grade: SSS. Experience gained: 500. Female lead: Luo Qingchen male lead. Du Jiuxing supporting female lead. Lu Qing Qiu supporting male lead. Du Qi in mission content. 1. Protect the Luo family from harm. 2. Protect your big sister and do your best to help her find true love. After looking at the bronze panel, Luo Qingchen thought, is this important? Is it important? Shouldn't the important thing be this world? The later missions kept increasing and the soul fragments and experience increased. She could already feel that the truth was right in front of her. After working hard for so long, she was about to reach the end. Special world, the system is not here. Host, please be careful. There were times when she felt that her family system was quite warm, although it wasn't cute most of the time. Memories have been released. Please check them, host. Snow country, a country filled with snow. Now that the world was divided into 3 parts, the powers of each place were balanced and restrained each other. The original owner was the daughter of the Grand Tutor of Snow Country. She had an elder sister who loved her dearly. Name: Luo Qingxin. Although they were both daughters born from the same father and mother, although they were both beautiful women, the sky was filled with the sunset glow when the original owner was born. Snow Country, which used to have heavy snow all year round, stopped snowing for the first time. The red sunset glow covered every inch of the Snow Country. Some people said it was a good omen, while others said it was a bad omen. But Grand Tutor Luo's position in the palace was very important. Whether it was a good omen or a bad omen, no one could do anything to the original owner. Her elder sister, Luo Qingxin, was also very beautiful. Although she wasn't as beautiful as the original owner, she was still a beauty. When she was young, her elder sister had doted on her very much. As long as it was something delicious, her sister would leave it for her, be it beautiful clothes or clever trinkets. Because of growing up in such an environment, The original owner's personality was somewhat arrogant and willful from a young age. She did whatever she wanted in the Grand Tutor manner. These days lasted until the original owner reached marriageable age. Luo Qingxin was about to get married. Many sons of ministers in the court sent invitations to the Grand Tutor manor. But Luo Qingxin wasn't happy at all. "Elder sister, you don't want to get married?" Her eyes, which were as bright as the stars, trembled slightly. Chapter 3799. Luo Qingxian's eyes were red as she raised her hand to pat her head. "It's not that I don't want to, but the person I've been waiting for never came." It was a long time later that the previous host learned that the person her big sister had been waiting for was the Crown Prince Du Qian. A year ago, her big sister had gone to the palace to study with the princess and met the Crown Prince Du Qian at that time. The two fell in love at first sight and quickly fell into the river of love. After that, Du Qian said to her, "Exener, I will definitely take you as my crown princess." But this promise was too vague because the crown prince was already engaged to another girl. This girl was the enemy of the Grand Tutor manor, the prime minister's daughter, Lu Qingxiu. She wasn't a country-collapsing beauty, but she was cold and dignified, just like her name. Du Qian and Lu Qingxiu had been engaged since they were young, so it was normal for them to form factions in court. The prime minister and the crown prince were on one side. The great general and the 10th prince were on one side. Although the current emperor had many sons, there were only 3 people most likely to inherit the throne: the crown prince Du Qian, the 10th prince Du Shirgu, and the 9th prince Du Jiusheng. The first 2 had factions in court. Only Du Jiusheng didn't have any. The previous host had never seen him before. She had only heard that he was a person who cared about himself, cold and restrained. No one could see through his thoughts. Actually, naturally no one could see through his thoughts. It was said that when he was young, he met an otherworldly expert by chance, and the expert taught him the art of divination. He was very talented, and the emperor placed him in an important position since then. If it wasn't for this, he would have always been the son of a cold concubine, never having a chance to shine. But the matter related to Du Jiusheng wasn't related to the previous host. The tragedy of the Grand Tutor's family was caused by no one else but the man Luo Qingxian admired, the Crown Prince Du Qian. Her big sister was a kind and stubborn girl. Since she had already given her virginity to Du Qian, she wouldn't agree to anyone who came to propose marriage. This matter made Grand Tutor Luo very worried. He only knew that Luo Qingxian wasn't willing to marry, but he didn't know that she had already given her virginity to Du Qian. But how could Du Qian marry her? He was a henchman of the prime minister, and the 2 of them were closely related in the court. They had too many secrets that could be used against each other. They were bound together for good or ill. It's a pity that the righteous Luo Qingxin didn't think of this after she fell in love. Perhaps it wasn't that she couldn't think of it, but even if she had thought of it, her heart was extremely resistant and unwilling to admit it. But in fact, the meeting between Du Qi and Luo Qingxian was a plan to uproot the Grand Tutor's mansion. Since the current emperor had grown up with the Grand Tutor, the 2 of them had a tacit understanding. He boasted that he was only loyal to the emperor and would never form a clique with other people. But the other cliques knew very well that Luo Yu's words could affect the situation of the entire Snow Empire. Whether it was Du Qi or Du Shirgu, if they wanted to ascend the throne, if Grand Tutor Luo was still around, it was like putting a time bomb beside them. They could be blown to smithereens at any time and lose everything. Of course, there was another important reason to fear Imperial Tutor Luo, which was that he was worried that he would work with Du Jiusheng. After all these years, Du Jiusheng had become the emperor's confidant. No matter what national matter was, the emperor would summon Du Jiusheng to the imperial study, and sometimes he would summon Grand Tutor Luo. Chapter 3800. The henchmen of the 2 factions fell into a state of panic. If these 2 great powers were to gather together after the emperor passed away, wouldn't Snow Country be their world? Thus, they thought of the crime of passion. Crown Prince Du Qi was a romantic and elegant man. As long as he touched a woman, all of them admired him. His meeting with Luo Qingxin was also part of the plan. Actually, when Luo Qingxin gave him her chastity, his plan had already succeeded. But this silly woman was kept in the dark until her death. She thought that Du Qi was an affectionate crown prince who had a special affection for her. 2 months before Luo Qingxin's coming-of-age ceremony, all the nobles' sons in the capital came to give gifts. She kept waiting for Du Qi to appear. The reason why Du Qi didn't appear immediately was because he was planning. Until 2 months later, the plan was completed. Just now, he asked Luo Qingxin out. Actually, the time was just right, because at that time, Luo Qingxin must be waiting anxiously. He understood a woman's mind too well. The more this kind of time, the more she could be a chess piece in his hand. Step by step, he could complete his plan. Actually, Du Qi didn't do anything. He just gave Luo Qingxin 2 brocade pouches and asked her to protect them carefully. Xin, this is the token of love between me and you. No matter where I am in the future, I will find a way to come to your side. Luo Qingxin cried. She felt that she gave her heart to a worthy person. She was so moved that she cried. Little did she know that these 2 brocade pouches became the evidence of Luo family's collusion with the enemy. Finally, the whole family was executed. Even though the emperor was deeply unwilling to admit this matter, even though he always felt that Luo Yu was his loyal subject. But the evidence was irrefutable. All the time in the brocade pouches matched. Every incident could be traced. If he didn't collude with the enemy, it was impossible to know so much. What was more terrifying was that the materials of these 2 brocade pouches came from Shiyu country. Luo Yu had no way to defend himself. That night, all 32 members of Luo family were directly locked up in the prison to await execution. Wearing the prison uniform, Luo Qingxin sat in the prison cell. She seemed to come back to her senses and discovered all these things. From the beginning to the end, it was a trap. That man never loved her. Yes, she was just a pawn in his hands. Ever since she left the Tai tutor's residence and was locked up, Luo Qingxin had never said a word of explanation. Because even though she had fallen to such a state, she still foolishly believed that it was all a misunderstanding. Du Qi must have his difficulties. He wouldn't treat her like this. But until she was locked up in the Big Boss for a whole day and night, Du Qi didn't come. She suddenly woke up. Now, her love-at-first-sight chess piece was no longer of any use. Inside the prison, she dropped to her knees and kowtowed heavily to her father and mother, saying, "Your daughter is unfilial. It's because of your daughter's trust in others that they were able to take advantage of the situation, causing the Luo family to be wronged." Sigh. Luo Yu helped his daughter up, letting out a deep sigh. Mother and I are already people who have half of our lives left behind. In this life, we have worked hard for the Snow Empire and the Imperial Court. Father's heart can shine as bright as the sun and moon. It's just that little sister and I have suffered. Father could have betrothed us to a loyal and righteous family. Qingchun, Luo Qingxin's tears fell uncontrollably when she thought of this. Chapter 38:01. That was her sister whom she doted on the most since she was young. She hoped that she could be happy. But in the end, it was her sister who harmed her. No, at that time, Luo Qingxin couldn't accept her sister's death. She lowered her head and asked to see Du Qi in. She didn't know if she was lucky or Du Qi and was good that day. He agreed to see her. Midnight, Crown Prince's East Palace. She was wearing a prison uniform and her hands and feet were shackled. Her originally gentle face was cold and weary. Du Qi held a goblet in his hand and walked in front of her. His slender fingertips lifted her chin and said, "You didn't come here to ask me why, did you?" The cold wind brushed her cheeks. The plum blossom petals fell on her hair. At this moment, Du Qi was far away from her. His body smelled of wine and his breath that made her sink into oblivion. She was really stupid. Unexpectedly, she was still greedy for this breath. "I beg you for one thing." She lowered her voice, her pair of stubborn eyes suddenly nodding as she said, "Let my sister live." Du Qi looked at her eyes and smiled. The most beautiful woman of Shui country. It's a pity to kill her. Do you agree? Luo Qingxin's eyes were still filled with hope. She didn't know that Du Qian's words made her fall into the 18th layer of hell. Yes. He looked into her eyes and said, but she must become my woman. You. Luo Qingxin's expression didn't change. She only had one purpose in coming here, and that was to save her sister's life. But she didn't expect that Du Qian would say such words. Exer. Du Qian softly called her name. There was a playful smile in his eyes as he said, in fact, if the Luo family didn't have to die, I would be very infatuated with you. If your sister becomes my woman, I can look at her face and remember your appearance. What kind of scum would say something like that? Luo Qingxin bit her lips and said word by word, dream on. She wanted Luo Qingshan to live. She hoped that she could live happily, even if there was no glory and wealth, even if she married a villager. As long as the other party treated her sincerely, she would be happy even if she worked from dawn to dusk. She knew her sister. She knew that although she was arrogant and willful since she was young, she was very similar to her sister in terms of feelings. She was willing to be with someone and never leave each other. Du Qi and wasn't worthy of her sister. Luo Qingxin was brought back to the prison. Luo Yu told her that the emperor's edict. Considering Luo family didn't contribute to the court, they would be exempted from the death penalty. But they would be banished to the border and never return to Shui country. Luo Qingxian thought, at least I'm still alive. But they never expected that even though the emperor did give the Grand Tutor's Luo family a way out, there were some people who didn't intend to let them go. The 32 members of the Luo clan were all killed on their way to the border. Not a single one survived. It didn't matter whether it was the Crown Prince Du Qi or the 10th Prince Du Shirgu. The reason why the original owner's obsession reached the bronze mirror in the chaos space was not for love and hatred, but for family. Since she was young, her big sister had protected her and spoiled her. Before she died, her big sister used her body to protect her. There will be an update at 1 or 2. Welcome, Big Brother Jiusheng. This story, please read it carefully anyway. Luli loves you. End of this chapter. Chapter 38:02. However, the blade was too sharp, and it pierced through her chest. Sorry. Qingchun, sorry. Blood came out of Luo Qingxian's mouth as she looked at her little sister. It's big sister who has let you down. If there's a next life, I hope that you won't have a big sister like me again. No. Her face was pale, but her eyes were like stars as she said, if there's a next life, I want you to be my big sister. You're my only big sister. Since then, the Grand Tutor Manor's Luo family had fallen. This was the life of the previous host. Luo Qingshan rubbed her temples as she felt an inexplicable anxiety in her heart. It really wasn't because of the weather or how tragic the story was. Rather, it was because of this. She was currently in the Ministry of Justice's prison. The 32 members of the Luo family had been locked up in the Ministry of Justice's prison a day ago. Plotting against the Western Yu country was something that was set in stone. Luo Qingshan felt that it was funny that she had returned to this time. What could she change? System, trash system, come out for me. Even if this was an SSS grade mission, even if this was Big Brother Jiusheng's world, it shouldn't be like this. Aren't you making me fail the mission and sending me to my death? Luo Qingshan roared in her heart for a while before she came to her senses. She didn't have any powers in this special world, and she didn't have a system. At this juncture, this matter was very troublesome. Luo Qingshan slightly knit her brows and closed her eyes. In the previous host world, she only knew about Du Jiusheng, but she had never met him. This meant that they didn't have any interactions at all. There were very few memories, and she didn't even know what kind of personality Big Brother Jiusheng had in this world. But other than looking for Du Jiusheng, she had no other choice. But if she didn't have any exchange value, even if she sent a message to Du Jiusheng, he wouldn't see her. Think about it. She had to think about it. This was her first time feeling this nervous after coming out of Special World. It wasn't that this kind of situation had never happened before, but this was a special world. She didn't have any powers, so if she made a single mistake, she would lose everything. Chinner, father, shut up. She didn't know where the voice came from, but it suddenly interrupted her thoughts. The next second, Luo Qingshun reacted. It seemed that the original owner's father, Luo Yu, was talking to her. Ah! Luo Qingchen's lips curled as she said with an awkward smile, "Does father need something?" At this moment, everyone in the prison looked at her in disbelief. Luo Qingshun realized that her tone and expression just now were not right. She hurriedly said, "Everyone, I think I've thought a way to get everyone out." Her words only caused everyone to reveal an incredulous expression, but not the slightest bit of joy. It was probably because she was a playful and arrogant young lady. Now that she was in a desperate situation, she just wanted to make everyone happy. Perhaps because she thought of this level, Luo Mu cried and touched her head kindly. "Chen has grown up, but I can't see the world as much as possible. I'm sorry for you now." Luo Qing Xin, sitting in the corner, suddenly stood up. Her eyes were red and filled with determination as she said, "I'm sorry for little sister. I'll go find him, and if he still has a bit of guilt, I hope that he will agree to let Qingshun go." Chapter 38:03. Luo Qingshun had the previous host's memories, so she was very clear that there was no meaning in her big sister going to the crown prince's eastern palace. Du Qi and was a heartless person. He didn't feel any guilt. To him, Luo Qingxian was just a chess piece. If it wasn't for the fact that she was the Luo family's young miss, she wouldn't even have the chance to become a chess piece. No need. Luo Qingxun's cold voice rang out in the cell. This coldness wasn't because of Luo Qingxian, but rather because of Du Qian. This kind of man wanted to take the 32 lives of her Luo family. Sorry, he wasn't worthy. Even if she didn't have any powers here, even if she was a fish on a chopping board, it was impossible for her to admit defeat at this time. Before her head fell to the ground, everything could be overturned. She suddenly thought that she didn't just have the previous host's memories. She also had the previous host's memories after she died. The world was divided into 3: Snow Country, the Warring States Country, and the Western Country. The Warring States Country was the strongest and had the most troops. The higher a person's position was, the more things they wanted. The Warring States Country kept invading the borders of Snow Country and the Western Country, and they kept winning. In the previous host's world, Snow Country and the Western Country didn't work together. Both sides were fighting their own enemies, but it was like hitting a stone with a soft weapon. In the end, the Warring States Country defeated Snow Country and the Western Country one by one, unifying the world. This ending was the chip in Luo Qingxun's hand, which was also the chip she used to see Du Jiusheng. Luo Qingxian heard this and was stunned. Seeing Luo Qingxun's incomparably calm expression, she slightly knit her brows and said, "Qingxun, why are you?" "Big sister." Luo Qingxun slowly stood up, and there was a faint sparkle in her clear-as-water eyes as she said, "He has already made things this resolute. It means that he has never thought of letting you live." Qingxun, Luo Qingxian, was very surprised. She felt that the current Luo Qingxun was like a different person. It had become unfamiliar to her and made her a little flustered. However, she had no choice but to admit that every word she said was so correct. "If he cared about our old friendship, he would have spared your life even if he had to kill everyone in our Grand Tutor's residence." Luo Qingxun narrowed her eyes and said, "But he didn't." This was Du Qian, an extremely decisive and cold man. This time, not only was Luo Qingxun shocked, even Luo Yu was shocked. As far as they knew, Luo Qingxun was definitely not a person who would say such words. She was clearly such an innocent and naive person. How could her tone suddenly become so calm? It was as if he could see through everything in the world and see through the warmth and coldness of the human world. Sigh, Luo Yu sighed softly. Right now, there's nothing we can do. We can only pray that the current emperor will give us a way out on account of the Luo family's dedication to the imperial court. When Luo Qingxun heard this, she half leaned on the cold wall and said, "Father and the current emperor have been together for so many years. Naturally, you also know his temperament. He will collude with his henchmen at any time. But in the end, he can't bear to let our Luo family be executed and exterminated." Luo Yu's whole body straightened and his back stiffened. Was this still his daughter? Was this still the innocent young lady of the Grand Tutor's residence? But Luo Qingqian's eyes trembled slightly. The Emperor won't kill us, but it doesn't mean that others won't kill us. Chapter 3804. This cell was perhaps the most dangerous place, but compared to the danger outside, it was the safest. Chun-er, are you still Chun? Madame Luo had tears in her eyes as she looked at her deeply. Yes, but also no. Luo Qingqian took off the jade pendant at her waist and knocked on the pillar of the cell. Is there anyone here? Is there anyone here? Because of the imperial tutor's high status and the fact that he was normally kind, although he was in this cell, the jailers didn't make it hard for him. Although the book said, when a tiger falls, it will be bullied by a dog. But after being in the palace for so many years, there were many people who came back from death's door. If they couldn't offend him, they would try their best not to offend him. Young Miss Luo, is there something you need to tell me? The one who came in was the head of the prison, Chen Jun. He looked at Luo Yu and nodded. Chen Jun was just a small prison guard, but Luo Yu had promoted him. When Luo Yu was locked up yesterday, he had specially prepared clean bedding. He was afraid that his most important teacher would be humiliated before he died. Can you help me with something? Luo Qingqian pursed her lips and said, I definitely won't make it hard for you. As soon as her voice fell, she gave all the money in her bag to Chunjun. Chunjun pushed the bag aside and said, Young Miss Luo, as long as it doesn't affect my life, Chunjun can do it. He had elders and children. He couldn't lose his life. Relax. It definitely won't threaten your life. Luo Qingqian gave him the jade pendant and said, Take this jade pendant to the 9th King's Manor and show it to Du Jiusheng to prove my identity. Then help me pass a message to him. What does young Miss Luo need me to pass on? Luo Qingqian's lips curled into a faint smile. If he doesn't see me, the snow country will be destroyed. The Big Dipper means war. Yes, I will definitely pass on the young Miss message. Qinjun cupped his hands and said, I really hope that the Emperor can take back his fame. I will never believe that Imperial Tutor Luo would collude with outsiders. When Luo Yu heard this, his eyes turned slightly red. His voice was a bit weary as he said, This old man has been in such a predicament. To be able to hear these words from you, my life has not been in vain. An hour later, Chun Jun brought the jade pendant that Luo Qingqian gave him and arrived at the 9th Prince's residence. After waiting for a while in the mansion, a person who looked like an attendant walked out and said, The 9th Prince is not seeing any guests today. Please go back. How smart was Du Jiusheng? At this time, the head of the prison came to the king's manor to find him. It must be for the matter of Imperial Tutor Luo. However, he did not want to be involved in this matter. Treason was definitely not something that could be easily appeased by begging for mercy. It was easy to get burned by a muddy water. That Qinjun knew that he wouldn't be able to enter today. He hurriedly handed the jade pendant to the attendant and said, Can you help me pass this jade pendant to 9th Wangya? There's also a message that I hope young master can pass on for me. What words? If you don't see me, snow country will perish. The Big Dipper's southern star means war. In the study, Du Jiusheng took a sip of tea as his slender fingers played with the jade pendant in his hand. His brows slightly knit as he asked, Where is he? This subordinate has already sent him back. Yang Hong said, This subordinate thinks that your highness shouldn't care about these disgraceful words and shouldn't participate in the matters of the imperial tutor's manor. Du Jiusheng's lips curled into a cold smile. Do you know what the Big Dipper's southern star is? Chapter 3805. This subordinate doesn't know. How could Yang Yu know anything about divination? He naturally didn't know anything. Bring her here. But Yang Yu cupped his hands and said, If she comes now, it will leave a weakness for the crown prince, which is bad for us. How could I not know? Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes. But I have a big doubt in my heart, and if she dies, I won't be able to find an answer in this life. Yes, this subordinate will go invite her now. Yang Yu couldn't understand Du Jiusheng's thoughts, but he knew that he had a reason for doing this. In the prison, it had been an hour since Chun Jun came back, and there was still no movement in the 9th King's Manor. At first, Luo Yu still had a bit of hope. After all, his innocent daughter was able to calmly and logically analyze the current situation, making him feel hopeful. Perhaps people would only find life when they were in despair. But Jun was stopped outside the Ninth King's manor, which meant that Du Jiusheng didn't want to get involved in this mess. But this was very natural. A family that was about to be executed, most people would choose to stay away. Old Master, do you think that the Ninth King will agree with Qingxin? Mother Luo had a worried look on her face. This seemed to be their final straw, so they had to hold on tight. It's all my fault. Luo Qingxin pursed her lips as tears filled her eyes. With my relationship with the Crown Prince, the Ninth King won't help us. Qin'er, father also feels that Jiao. Luo Qingxin's expression was incomparably calm the entire time. She slowly opened her eyes and cut Luo Yu off. He will definitely call me. She was 100% certain. It wasn't because of the words or the meaning of the words. It was because he was called Du Jiusheng, so she was this confident. No matter what kind of person he was in this world, his bones wouldn't change. In the next second, the sound of footsteps was heard. Chen Jun looked a bit excited as he said while panting, "The Ninth King is calling for young Miss Luo." At this moment, everyone around her looked at her with disbelief and disbelief, including her parents and her big sister. Yes, Luo Qingxian nodded lightly, then turned to her parents and sister and said, "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." Qin'er. Before she left, her father did not forget to remind her, now that the Luo family is a prisoner, if the Ninth Prince is unwilling to help, don't make things difficult for him. If it was something else, I would definitely listen to father and not cause trouble for others. Luo Qingxian paused for a moment and said, "But this is the life of 32 people in my Luo clan. I will definitely make things difficult for him." Everyone was stunned. They had never seen Luo Qingxian like this before. It was as if there was another soul living in her body, just wrapped in the same skin. On the way to the Ninth Prince's mansion, Luo Qingxian could feel the obvious tension in her heart. The sky was filled with flying snow, and when he stepped on the snowy ground, a sizzling sound could be heard. The cold pierced her heart, causing her hands to tremble uncontrollably. Why was he nervous? Because it was cold. Because she was wearing less. Because this wasn't the beginning of the story for her, but rather the continuation of the story. Because he was Du Jiusheng, she was nervous. They always said that parting was heartbreaking, but meeting again made one's heart tremble. She was a bit afraid that she wouldn't be able to stop herself from throwing herself at him. Chapter 38:06. Inside the study, there was a faint sandalwood scent in the air. Luo Qingxian took a deep breath and shook off the snow on her. The moment she walked into the room, her eyes turned red. It was like she took a deep breath and her breathing trembled. He crossed his hands as he looked at the painting on the wall. The girl in the painting was wearing a white dress with hair down to her shoulder. She was standing to the side, and there was a snow-white cloth covering her eyes, making it impossible to see her appearance. "Master, I've brought her." His voice was very cold, like there was nothing in this world that could affect his emotions. But when he slowly turned around and their eyes met, Du Jiusheng's eyes were clearly stunned. There was a faint glow in those deep as ink eyes, and in the dim candlelight, it was hard to see through. "You can leave." Yes. Yang Yu felt it was a bit strange. His master trusted him, so he wouldn't leave no matter what occasion it was. Why was it that today, Yang Yu turned to take 2 steps before Du Jiusheng slowly said, "Set up the floor heating and bring in a few stoves." Floor heating? Stoves? How could the Ninth King's manor have this kind of thing? Because his Ninth King had said before that the more comfortable the environment, the more lazy people would be. These words were right. It snowed all year round in the snow country, and if there wasn't a floor heating or a stove, one would wake up from the cold. Although the Ninth King's manor didn't have these things, he had to make them for his king, even if he had to. After Yang Yu left, there was only Luo Qingxian and Du Jiusheng left in the study. She had a thought in her heart that if she didn't cherish the beginning of the story, she wouldn't even have the chance to remember the end. The two of them looked at each other. His cold eyes frowned slightly, while her eyes reddened uncontrollably. Silence, silence. Even the sound of a needle falling to the ground could be heard. In the end, she spoke first. "Long time no see." There was a bit of a choked-up voice and a bit of a chill. She knew that Du Jiusheng didn't have any memories, so she shouldn't say these words in this situation. Because her goal was to save the Luo family, the most important thing was to reveal her bargaining chip. But she never thought that Du Jiusheng would respond to her. Not really. He narrowed his eyes. His deep eyes were floating under the candlelight, sometimes bright and sometimes dark. His thin lips were light. "I often see you in my dreams, but I didn't know you were the daughter of Grand Tutor Luo." Du Jiusheng's in your dream almost made him cry. Perhaps their love had never left. Perhaps they had never been separated. "Won't Ninth Wangya ask me why I'm here?" Luo Qingchen's eyes trembled slightly. "After all, I heard that Ninth Wangya is an omniscient astrologer. Astrologers are real, omniscient are fake." Du Jiusheng looked at him and said, "Imperial tutor, this is a death calamity, unless the emperor takes back his orders." Looking at Du Jiusheng's expression, he indeed never divined the Luo family's fortune. He also didn't know that the emperor would spare the Luo family's death in the morning court tomorrow. The emperor will definitely take back his orders. Luo Qingchen slightly knit her brows. "Can Ninth Wangya help me with something? How do you know that the emperor will take back his orders?" Du Jiusheng had a bit of a look of disbelief in his eyes. "Ninth Wangya isn't the only one in this world who can predict the future." Luo Qingchen looked into his eyes and said, "If Ninth Wangya is willing to promise me, if Ninth Wangya needs my help in the future, I will not shirk my duty." Chapter 3807. Du Jiusheng was stunned. This was his first time feeling that a little girl could be this confident in front of an astrologer like him. Being an astrologer didn't mean knowing the future. If you wanted to know the secrets of heaven, you had to exchange it with something of equal value. Therefore, he naturally couldn't divine the fate of the Luo family. "How do you want me to help you?" He looked at her and was a bit stunned. "Tomorrow morning, the emperor will announce that the 32 members of the Luo family will be exiled to the border. The emperor will remember father's contributions to the court in the past, so he won't kill them all. But Luo Qingchen paused before continuing. "That doesn't mean that others won't kill them." Du Jiusheng slightly knit his brows. She could see that there wasn't any doubt in his eyes. Rather, there was surprise. He was surprised that this girl in front of him even knew this. "You want me to protect you on the way?" Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes. This isn't that hard. He wasn't the same kind of person as Du Qiyin and Du Shirgu, so whether he saved them or not wouldn't change their relationship. That is one of the reasons. Luo Qingchen's eyes trembled slightly. There is another reason. Du Jiusheng slightly knit his brows as he narrowed his eyes to look at her. Just with a single look, he knew what she was thinking. "No." He shook his head. "It's too dangerous. I must stay." Luo Qingchen's voice was firm. "I promise that I won't reveal my identity, and I won't cause you any trouble. It's not me that's dangerous, it's you." Du Jiusheng, who had always been indifferent, was actually a bit anxious as he tightly knit his brows. "Do you want to clear the Luo family's name by staying?" "No, I just want to stay by your side." She muttered these words in her heart, but she said something else. "Yes." Luo Qingchen's brows trembled slightly. "My Luo family has been loyal to the emperor all these years, but now they've been betrayed by an enemy country, forming a clique. This kind of crime, my father would rather die than take it." Du Jiusheng gave a sigh. "This matter is related to me. The Crown Prince planned this step by step because he was worried that I would work with a Grand Tutor. He doesn't know that Grand Tutor is only loyal to His Majesty. That's why I want to stay." Luo Qingchen pursed her lips. "But I don't know what identity I should use. The Grand Tutor's residence's Luo clan's second miss is devastatingly beautiful. Many people have probably seen your appearance. But you haven't seen it, have you?" Luo Qingchen's lips curled into a faint smile as she said, "I only found out today that the Ninth King isn't moved by beauty." Du Jiusheng was surprised. This topic made his heart skip a beat, and there was an indescribable feeling. Perhaps. His eyes were slightly flustered, and he glanced at the mural on the side of the wall. That might not be the case. All these years, there was no mistress in the Ninth Prince's residence. It wasn't because there were no girls willing to marry him. Rather, all the daughters of the ministers in the court would send invitations to the ninth prince's residence when they were of marriageable age. But he rejected them all. Some people said that he was a god sent down from the heavens, looking down on mortal girls. Some people said that he didn't like girls at all. He only liked the stars in the sky. Therefore, even now, the ninth prince's residence still didn't have a princess. He was waiting for a person who often appeared in his dreams. He was so attracted that he couldn't find the direction. Now he seemed to have found it. Chapter 38:08. After a while, he said in a cold and deep voice, "I promise you that I will help you clear the Luo family. But this isn't something that can be done overnight. The Luo family needs to be patient. They need to wait." Luo Qingshan looked at him, knowing the meaning of his words. He was worried about her. In his world, this was their first time meeting, but his eyes became deeper and deeper. "No matter what, I have to stay." Luo Qingshan looked at him and seriously said, word for word, "There's a very important person here." Du Jiusheng could clearly feel that when she said this, he was suffocating. Although it was only for a short second, he really felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. After a while, he said, "All right, since Miss Luo says this, I can't say anything else, but your identity is too dangerous." So, Luo Qingshan could hear the disappointment in his voice, and she couldn't help revealing a faint smile. "Can I stay in the ninth king's manor?" He was stunned. It was unknown if he was stunned by her smile, or if he was happy that she wanted to stay here. In the next second, he said almost without thinking, "Okay, then I'll thank Big Brother Jiusheng." Luo Qingshan tilted her head with a naughty smile. "Treat it as my Luo family owing you this time. If I need it in the future, I'll definitely pay you back." It was this Big Brother Jiusheng that made him freeze in place, not reacting for a long time. Without knowing how long passed, his lips curled into a faint smile. "All right, if I need it, I'll ask you, and you can't deny it. It's a promise. It's a promise." The next morning, at morning court, the emperor took back the imperial decree to execute the entire Luo family and changed it to exile them to the border. Everyone was shocked. Only Du Jiusheng had a faint smile on his lips. She really had the ability to predict the future. She really calculated it. Du Qian immediately knelt down and said, "Imperial father, Imperial tutor Luo formed a clique for personal gain, committed adultery, and betrayed the country. We must kill her." Jin always felt that it was too hasty to conclude that Grand Tutor Luo colluded with a foreign country just based on 2 brocade letters. The emperor frowned and said, "After being exiled to the border, the Supreme Court will continue to investigate this matter." "Imperial father, Qian." The emperor looked at him with sharp eyes and said, "If you report it again, I will feel that this matter is even stranger." As soon as his voice fell, he didn't forget to look at Du Jiusheng. Du Jiusheng and Imperial Tutor Luo had a good relationship over the years. Although they weren't on the same side, they could be considered friends despite the difference in age. But now that something big had happened to Tutor Luo, Du Jiusheng didn't plead for him at all. The emperor found it strange, but he appreciated his son even more. Not only was she smart, but she also knew what to ask for and what not to ask for. When Du Qi and heard the emperor's words, he couldn't speak even though he had countless words in his throat. No, he could not let Grand Tutor Luo leave Snow Country alive. If he didn't die this time, he would definitely become an endless trouble in his heart. After the morning court was over, Du Jiusheng returned to the ninth king's manor as quickly as possible. He arranged for a maid with high martial arts to exchange identities with Luo Qingshan. In the prison, Luo Qingshan quickly changed clothes with the maid before looking at her family. "Father, mother, big sister, you will definitely be ambushed on the road. The ninth king will secretly send people to protect you, and there will be people to pick you up at the border." "What?" Luo Qingxin's eyes opened wide in surprise. "Qingshan, you're not coming with us?" Chapter 38:09. Her little sister had been spoiled since she was young. Although she seemed like a different person this time, in her heart, she was still that kind of girl. A girl who needed to be protected and pampered. With a Luo family in such a dangerous situation, How could she leave her little sister alone in the snow country? The Luo family is loyal. We won't suffer this injustice. Luo Qingshan raised her right hand and stroked Luo Qing Xian's hair as she said, "Big sister, I will definitely bring you back." "No, how can you do that?" Madame Luo's tears came down as she said in a choked voice, "Chinner is still so young. How can we leave her alone here?" "No, definitely not. Madame Luo, be assured, I will protect her." Her words were concise and comprehensive, but everyone's eyes fell on her. Everyone here naturally included Luo Qingshan. Ninth King. After a while, Luo Yu gave Du Jiusheng a deep bow. "Then I'll have to trouble your highness to take care of my daughter. Although my people will protect you, Imperial Tutor Luo needs to be careful on the road." Du Jiusheng said, "The enemy is in the dark. There might be an accident." This old man understands. Luo Qingshan was wearing the maid's clothes as she stood on the wall with Du Jiusheng. The snow in the snow country was especially big today. There was a thick layer of snow everywhere. Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes. She knew that she had taken care of the most troublesome matter. But she was also clear that the beginning of this story was just the beginning. She didn't want it to end. She wasn't willing to end it at all. Even if it ended in tragedy, she wanted to have a bit of warmth in the process. "The snow really is big." Luo Qingshan gave a sniff, and her voice was a bit nasal. Perhaps winter made people feel more sentimental. It was as if the cold wind would blow into her eyes in the next second, and her eyes would unconsciously turn misty. Du Jiusheng said with a nod, "I've been collecting some clues about Imperial Tutor Luo being framed in the past 2 days. The Emperor's actions must mean that Imperial Tutor Luo has been wronged. Don't worry, I will make sure you and your family." She didn't wait for him to finish. She turned around and threw herself into his arms. Du Jiusheng's body froze, and his hands couldn't help holding her, as he was completely frozen. He could even feel that his heart, which had always been as calm as water, was surging like raging waves at this moment. "Du Jiusheng, there is something you have to promise me." Her voice trembled slightly as she said word by word, "I don't need you to save me. I don't even need you to save the Luo family. No matter what, you can't die." Light snow fell on her light dress. It landed on her hair and her face. But when she hugged Du Jiusheng, she felt assured. That face that was exactly the same, that pair of extremely deep eyes, every move, every action, he gave her the feeling that he was so familiar. Du Jiusheng. She had already met him many times, but they never had a good ending in the beginning of a dream. This time, the start was so bumpy. Could God give her another chance? Even if it was just once, Du Jiusheng didn't know if he should tighten his hands or let go. He looked down, and his long lashes were covered in snow as his deep eyes sparkled. After a while, he softly hugged her and said, "I promise you." Chapter 38:10. What happened after was the same as the previous host memories. The Luo family was surrounded when they passed through the Western Wood Pass. It was a good thing that Du Jiusheng had sent people to protect them. Although the assassins didn't leave anyone alive, they left the token. After Du Jiusheng took the token, he had more evidence in his hands. He did these things in silence and didn't tell that girl. Ever since he entered the Ninth Prince's residence, his life had undergone an earth-shaking change. Of course, not only did Du Jiusheng think this, everyone in the Ninth King's Manor thought this. For example, in the Ninth King's Manor, wherever Luo Qingshan went, there would be floor heating and stoves. The back garden that was lifeless was filled with blossoms, including the peach blossoms that Luo Qingshan liked the most. The peach blossoms in the winter flew in the snow, looking beautiful beyond compare. These peach blossoms needed to be carefully planted, so Big Brother Du Jiusheng found the best gardener in the snow country to guard this sea of flowers. Not only this, the small daily things were even more exaggerated. The lanterns in the Ninth King's Manor were Luo Qingshan's favorite style. The dishes in the Ninth King's Manor were Luo Qingshan's favorite dishes. The Ninth King's Manor study was filled with things that Luo Qingshan normally used. The Ninth King's favorite thing was to stay in the study and not come out but now he liked staying in the study with Luo Qingchen. Moreover, he didn't like being disturbed by others. They didn't do anything special, they just liked being together. This made Yang Yu feel like he had fallen out of favor, so he had been depressed over the past few days. But he also knew the position Luo Qingchen had in Du Jiusheng's heart. Even if he was depressed, when he met Luo Qingchen in the manor, his smile was as bright as a flower. After the Luo family arrived at the border, Du Jiusheng had already sent people to settle them down. Most of the people sent to the border were people from the court who had made mistakes or hostages from small countries. This city was called Night City. It was a city that lacked land and food, showing poverty everywhere. Other than Luo Qingchen, there were 31 people in the Luo family, which was considered the largest house in Night City. It was said that this house belonged to the family of the minister of the Ministry of Rights, who had been sent to the border city because of the literary prison. The minister of the Ministry of Rights was an honest official. He had always been waiting for his innocence. But he didn't know that before he could wait, the emperor had already left. Luo Qingchen's father's family, who should be in his teens. The people of one city hadn't seen a young man left behind by the Minister of Rights for many years. However, that didn't seem to be important anymore. Now, this residence had a new owner, and this master also hoped that the truth would come to light so that the Luo family could be vindicated. Du Jiusheng had always been doing this. He never dared to forget. In the study, the candlelight flickered. Luo Qingchen was barefoot on the floor heater, but she didn't feel cold at all. Du Jiusheng was sitting in front of the desk, writing something. After he put down the pen, he looked in her direction and said, "I've already investigated the matter of the Luo family colluding with the Western region's country. Come with me to the palace in a few days." Go to the palace? Luo Qingchen was surprised. To see the emperor? Yes. The emperor was a smart person. Although he had secretly left Luo Qingchen in the Ninth King's manor, he couldn't guarantee that the emperor would notice. In that case, being exposed by others and being exposed by one's own initiative would have two different effects. Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 38:11. Luo Qingchen leaned back on the couch and took a sip of her favorite by Luo Chun before revealing a faint smile. Big brother Jiusheng, this is a gamble of risk and reward. I understand my royal father. He is a smart person. He can hide it for a while, but he can't hide it forever. Du Jiusheng patted the spot beside him and narrowed his deep eyes. Come over. She came over with a cup and sat down beside him. He raised his hand to stroke her hair before continuing. Not to mention that I promised your father that I would definitely redress the Luo family. So, big brother Jiusheng has prepared the evidence? Luo Qingchen had a trace of joy in her eyes. As for the Luo family, she wanted to investigate it herself. But Du Jiusheng kept telling her that if she interfered, it would be easy to expose what they were investigating. Actually, she was quite confident in her investigation skills. Du Jiusheng said this just to prevent her from falling into any trouble and being in any danger. Luo Qingchen knew all of this. Moreover, she felt particularly relieved to leave everything to him. It's prepared. He gave a slight nod as he said with a gentle smile. Although we can't completely point the spear at the crown prince, it's enough to rub off on him and let the Luo family clear their name and return to Snow Country. He hoped that Imperial Tutor Luo would come back, and he also had his own selfish reasons. If they bowed to the heavens and earth without the elders, it wouldn't be perfect. Luo Qingchen's lips curled into a smile. Then why do we have to wait a few days? Can't we go to the palace tomorrow? All right, but Du Jiusheng's eyes had a different sparkle as he said, there will be a rare convergence of stars in a few days, so I need to observe the stars and make a divination. Is big brother Jiusheng worried that something will happen? Luo Qingchen felt that he had the ability to see the future in this world. This ability seemed good now, but she didn't know if it would be like this in the future. Luo Qingchen shook her head as there was an inexplicable panic in her heart. Du Jiusheng seemed to feel her nervousness and softly stroked her head. Relax, there won't be any big changes, we just need to be a bit safer. His eyes were deep, but there was a gentleness in them when he looked at her, as well as an endless pampering look. The thing that Luo Qingshun regretted the most was that she didn't understand Du Jiusheng's eyes at that moment. The so-called being safer wasn't for the Luo family or for himself. It was for her. But at that time, she did not understand that the polar star fall was the convergence of 46 starlight in the universe at the same time. This scene was something that could only be seen once every 3 years. If there was an astrologer in this world who wanted to know the fate of someone in the future, they would have to perform a divination at this time. The price. The lifespan of an astrologer was 10 years. This was already the 6th hour since Du Jiusheng came to the observatory. Yang Yu said that there would be a convergence of stars every 3 years, but Du Jiusheng never came to the observatory at this time, because he didn't have anything that he needed to exchange for the future. What price? Her expression was a bit ugly. She had been panicking since that day in the study, but she couldn't tell why she was panicking. Master never told me this. Yang Yu knit his brows. I've only heard Master say that the star chart can change the situation of a battle. Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 38:12. It's easy to say. Luo Qingshun looked at the observatory and tightly knit her brows. There is nothing in this world that can't be exchanged for equal value. It was like a pie wouldn't fall from the sky. There would always be stumbling blocks in life. At this moment, a strong wind was howling at the star observation platform. A dark cloud enveloped the entire star observation platform of the 9th Prince's residence. The reason why Du Jiusheng used 10 years of his life to divine Luo Qingshun was because he knew better than anyone. The law of everything in this world was the cycle of cause and effect. There was cause and effect. Luo Qingshun wasn't an astrologer. It was impossible for her to know that the emperor would spare the Luo family's death sentence. She did have abilities that normal people didn't have. This was the so-called cause. Then this time, there had to be an effect. His divination was to be safe. If Luo Qingshun didn't have any calamities, he would use 10 years of his life to exchange for peace of mind. If there was, actually, he never thought about what he would do if there was. But now he had to think and make a choice. Pung! There was a flash of light that hit his chest, and he felt a sweet taste in his mouth as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The dark clouds in the sky gradually scattered and snowflakes fell onto his clothes. Hee. He gave a bitter laugh as a hard-to-hide Li Guang flashed in his eyes. Du Jiusheng closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and headed downstairs. Luo Qingshun heard the footsteps and looked over. When she saw him appear in front of her, she charged forward and tightly hugged him. Yang Yu tactfully closed his eyes and silently retreated. Relax, it's fine. Du Jiusheng's lips curled into a gentle smile. The divination shows that we will win this time. Even if Du Jiusheng said this, Luo Qingshun's heart was filled with panic. What did you exchange for it? Luo Qingshun left his embrace and suddenly looked up at him. The so-called astrologer should be like the destiny master. You are a normal person. You have to exchange for the destiny master. Yes, I'm injured. His slender fingers gently grasped her right wrist and pressed against her heart. You might need to rest for a few days. This isn't a big, heavenly secret. You don't need to use anything of equal value to exchange for it. Luo Qingshun looked at his face, half believing and half doubting. She didn't doubt this. Rather, she doubted what Du Jiusheng had divined. But if he didn't say anything, what else could she do? Take care of yourself. Luo Qingshun could feel his heartbeat, which was hot and powerful. She looked at his slightly pale face and pursed her lips. I will always be by your side. You. Du Jiusheng took her hand and revealed a pampering smile. You just need to eat and sleep. That's the best way for me to not be distracted. No. Luo Qingshun shook her head. Where are you going to recuperate? You still can't visit. Let's go to the study. He held her hand as they walked through the snow, step by step. It was like if they kept walking like this, the two of them could grow old together. But only he knew that this was a fool's dream. Why can't I visit the study? Luo Qingshun had a doubtful look in her eyes. Du Jiusheng revealed a faint smile. You can visit, but it's easy for me to be distracted with you. Then I'll wait in the study. You can call me if you need anything." He looked at her beautiful eyes and felt as if his heart was about to melt. He slowly stopped and kissed her forehead. "All right, I'll do as you say." Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 38:13. Du Jiusheng was indeed resting most of the time. He was only painting a small part of the time. Luo Qingshun wasn't too clear on what he was painting. She only saw a complicated star chart when she brought him tea. "Why do you need to draw a star chart?" Luo Qingshun tilted her head and said, "Do you need to do something? I am an astrologer. This is all for the future." Du Jiusheng took her in his embrace and said, "Then I'll wait for Qingshun to become my bride." "Is this true?" Luo Qingshun said in a daze. "Big brother, Jiusheng wouldn't be lying, right?" "I never lie," Du Jiusheng said with trembling brows. "Come to the palace with me tomorrow. Have you rested enough?" "Pretty much." Du Jiusheng looked at her with a faint smile. "Qingshun, can't you see that my complexion is much better?" It's much better." It should be because he was gradually getting better that Luo Qingshun's heart gradually calmed down. Although we can't take down the crown prince this time, he will make a move against the Luo family in the short term. There was a deep dark glow in Du Jiusheng's eyes, but it quickly returned to normal. He looked at her and said, "It's fine as long as you stay by my side. I will always be by big brother Jiusheng's side." Luo Qingshun looked at him with a cute wink. "This is my promise to you." It wasn't just a promise. This was what she wanted to do the most in her life. The next morning, Du Jiusheng brought the disguised Luo Qingshun into the palace before morning court. The emperor looked at Luo Qingshun and didn't say anything. He just softly said, "It seems like you've already found the evidence." As the ruler of a country, he wasn't stupid or obsessed with women, so naturally he had a meticulous mind. Although he didn't know that Du Jiusheng had switched people in prison, there was a country-collapsing beauty that came from the Ninth King's manor, so he could guess it. Moreover, when the Luo family was ambushed, the one who saved them should have been Du Jiusheng. The reason why he didn't present the evidence to him immediately was because he was worried that he didn't have enough evidence. Now that he had come and brought along Luo Qingshun, who had been secretly replaced by him, there was enough evidence. "Yes, father. Bring it up." Eunuch Li took the evidence from Du Jiusheng, and the emperor flew into a rage after seeing it. He slapped the table and said, "Absurd! This is simply going against the heavens." The emperor's action surprised Luo Qingshun because Du Jiusheng had always instilled in her the idea that the Luo family could return to Snow Country, but Du Qian's power wouldn't be affected. But now, seeing the emperor's expression, the crown prince didn't seem to be unaffected. "Jiusheng, you are in charge of investigating this matter." The emperor immediately sat down in front of the table and personally wrote the imperial edict. "If there is any truth, Shui country will directly attack the western region tomorrow. There will be no room for discussion." "Yes, father." Du Jiusheng's face was calm, without any joy or excitement. Luo Qingshun stood on the side and suddenly felt that this Du Jiusheng was a bit strange, like she didn't recognize him at all. Other than that, summon Imperial Tutor Luo back to Snow Country. This one felt that the Imperial Tutor matter was strange back then, but now that I've seen the evidence and letter you've brought, this one can understand the whole story. "Many thanks, Emperor." Luo Qingshun immediately kneeled down and said, "The Luo family being able to escape this disaster is all because of the Emperor's grace and the Emperor's care." Although these words were very vulgar and official, Luo Qingshun knew that she had to say it. Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 38:14. It's about to start court. You can leave now. Luo Qingshun looked at Du Jiusheng, and the two of them said at the same time, "Yes." On the way back to the Ninth King's manor, Du Jiusheng didn't say a word. Luo Qingshun couldn't ask anything at this juncture. After sending her back to the king's manor, he immediately went to court. "Big brother Jiusheng." Luo Qingshun called his name. His body froze as he suddenly turned around and took her in his embrace. Luo Qingshun suddenly felt Du Jiusheng's heart beating fast as he used all his strength to hold her. "Did something happen?" she asked in a soft voice, strangely feeling an indescribable feeling from his embrace. No. His voice was low with an unknown emotion. I just want to hug you. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and softly patted his shoulder. I will always be by your side. You have to always be by my side. When Du Jiusheng went to court, Luo Qingshun was alone in the manor, feeling very unsettled. She thought about it and felt that Du Jiusheng's behavior when they parted was too strange. It was like this was the last time they met, like it was over before they even started. This feeling was like ants gnawing at her heart. It was hard to endure. When she couldn't take it anymore and was about to enter the palace, Du Jiusheng came back. What are you doing in such a panic? He waved the pastries he ordered the servants to prepare in front of her and knit his brows. Why is your face so bad? Luo Qingshun threw herself into his embrace without another word. You scared me to death. I thought that you thought that I wouldn't come back. Du Jiusheng's lips curled into a pampering smile. Miss Luo Qingshun, are you a fool? She sniffed and felt that her eyes were a little red. She felt wronged. She jumped out of Du Jiusheng's embrace. She pursed her lips and looked at him with her phoenix eyes. Then when you came to court today, why did you look like you were about to die? You were so scared that you almost lost your soul. Isn't it good for you to worry about me? Du Jiusheng's eyes were filled with pampering as he softly pulled her into his embrace. Not to mention, I'm not willing to leave you. He didn't know when it started, but she had become especially important to him. This was the first time they had met. Her cold eyes were slightly misty, and the way she looked at him seemed to be 10,000 years old. Or was it because she was so similar to the silhouette in his dream that they almost overlapped? Or perhaps, after she came to the mansion, he started to smile more often. In the past, he didn't care about food and clothing, but now he started to make the Wang residence livelier. He did not like to eat sweets, but since she liked them, he would have the servants prepare them for her. He didn't like floor heating. Being too comfortable would make people lazy, but she liked it. So there was floor heating in every place she went. He didn't like flowers, but the back garden of the mansion was filled with flowers. He knew that he liked her. It wasn't love at first sight. It was love after a long time. In short, very much, very much. Humph. Luo Qingshun gave a soft snort. She took the pastry and took a bite before saying, Did court go smoothly today? Du Jiusheng could come back safely and wasn't implicated, so it should have gone smoothly. Du Jiusheng said. The emperor was furious and the crown prince was grounded. Chapter 38:15. God! Luo Qingshun was a bit surprised. The evidence you found was enough to ground Du Qian. He was grounded because of another matter. Du Jiusheng's lips curled slightly, but the two matters added together made him flustered. So, Luo Qingshun blinked. Will the emperor depose the crown prince? No, but based on the current situation, we should be fighting the Western country. Du Jiusheng took her hand and pulled her to sit down. Do you remember the first time we met and the 16-word mantra you gave me? Puchi. Luo Qingshun laughed. If it wasn't for those 16 words, would Big Brother Jiusheng still call me that? No, Du Jiusheng firmly replied. That's right. Everyone in the court wanted to protect themselves. If the emperor didn't give the order to exempt the Luo family from the death penalty, no one would have saved the Luo family. Humph, ruthless person. Although she said this, she never blamed Du Jiusheng. Rather, she was very grateful that they met, whether it was an accident or fate. So I'm very grateful for your 16-word mantra. Du Jiusheng gently patted her head. Now that I have you, I can't let the 16-word mantra come true. Luo Qingshun was a bit surprised. She actually forgot about this matter, not mentioning if she and Du Jiusheng would grow old together in this world. Just based on the future of Snow Country, it was impossible for her to grow old with him. God, I actually forgot about this matter. Luo Qingshun had a worried look as she said, So Big Brother Jiusheng has already thought of a way. Luo Qingshun suddenly felt that Du Jiusheng was very calm. She never worried about anything. When she was by his side, she felt that she wasn't the scheming Luo Qingshun, but rather a little girl who didn't understand the world by his side. Otherwise, why would I go to the observatory that day? There was a dark glow in Du Jiusheng's eyes as he said, "Your 16 words must predict the future. If Snow Country wants to survive, the only way is to merge the western regions or annex the western regions." These words sounded very easy, but it was very difficult to implement. It was snowing all year round in Snow Country. Naturally, the military strength was not that strong, and the physique of the soldiers was not that strong. The military strength of the western regions was on par with that of the Snow Country, but the western regions were good at using poison and ghostly techniques, making it impossible to guard against. If there is a war, will Big Brother Jiusheng go? Luo Qingxin's brows trembled slightly. "If you want to go, can I go with you?" After learning from the past, Luo Qingxin deeply felt that no matter what, as long as she could stay by Du Jiusheng's side, even if there was danger, she could go through it with him. Even if she died, she wasn't afraid. She just didn't want to be left alone. How can a scholar like me fight a war? Du Jiusheng revealed a faint smile as he pulled back her hair. "I'm at most a military officer. I can arrange troops. Then I want to go too." "All right." Du Jiusheng gave a slight nod. "If there's a need to go to the battlefield, I'll take you with me." "Wah." Big Brother Jiusheng agreed, so easily. "Because I'm not willing to let you leave my side." Luo Qingxin suddenly felt that this wasn't an SSS-grade mission at all. Even if there were unknown dangers ahead and the ending could change, as long as she was by his side, there was nothing to fear. Chapter 38:16. After Du Qian was grounded, there were many things that happened in court. Other than planning to attack the western regions, Prime Minister Lu Yuan's power began to tilt. The person they chose to rely on was no one else but Du Jiusheng. Lu Yuan had a daughter who was engaged to Du Qian, Lu Qingxiu. She would never dare forget this woman, because this was the woman her big sister gave her life to, but she lost to in the end. And this woman came to the 9th King's Manor today to be with her father. Lu Yuan really was a good father. Perhaps in his eyes, this daughter of his was just a sacrifice that he used to consolidate his power in the imperial court. So whether it was marrying Du Qi or Du Jiusheng, there was no difference to Lu Yuan at all. Luo Qingxin saw Lu Qingxiu in the back garden of the manor. She was gathering flower petals with a few maids, wanting to use them to make tea. But she didn't know that she would bump into Lu Qingxiu. She was clearly surprised when she saw Luo Qingxin, since the other side was the #1 beauty of Snow Country. She was wearing a plain white dress with a light pink hairpin in her head. There were 2 ribbons hanging down her long hair, making her look indescribably beautiful. I've long heard that the second daughter of the Imperial Tudor Manor has a nation-collapsing beauty. It's not bad to see you today, but... She paused for a bit as a charming look appeared in her phoenix eyes. I don't know if you can really compare to the words nation-collapsing beauty. Luo Qingxin didn't stop picking flower petals and didn't even look at Lu Qingxiu as she said in a voice as cold as ice. It can't compare to the words nation-collapsing beauty. I can't say. But compared to your ordinary face, it can really be considered a godly face. Poochie. The maids behind her heard this, and they all covered their mouths as they laughed. Lu Qingxiu's face turned red as her eyes opened wide. So the girls of the Imperial Tudor Luo Manor are this uneducated. No wonder. No wonder His Highness abandoned your big sister. That is your big sisters. Before the word should fell, Luo Qingxin's right hand was tightly around Lu Qingxiu's neck. Her eyes instantly widened and her cheeks flushed red. She struggled to open her mouth and said, Are you crazy? Luo Qingxin sneered and looked at her with a murderous look. You're right, I'm crazy. Therefore, I don't mind perishing together with you. But you should be very afraid of death. If it wasn't for Du Jiusheng, if she wanted to spend more time with him, if she didn't want to cause trouble for him at this critical moment, she didn't say a single word to Lu Qingxiu and directly sent her to the netherworld to see the king of hell. You? Lu Qingxiu's face turned from red to green. She still wanted to say something, but she couldn't say a word. Seeing that it was about time, Luo Qingxin flung her right hand and let go of her. Lu Qingxiu fell to the ground with a thud, coughing nonstop. Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. Without knowing how long she coughed, she covered her neck with her hands and said, Luo Qingchun, I will definitely tell my father. You are dead. Unhumph. Luo Qingchun raised a brow. She took out a delicate dagger from her sleeve and waved it in front of Lu Qingxiu. You, what do you want to do? Lu Qingxiu suddenly felt a chill run down her back. She thought that Luo Qingchun would be the same as her big sister, a woman who wouldn't have her own opinions at all. But looking at her eyes, she knew that she was thinking too much. Chapter 38:17. The woman in front of her and Luo Qingxin were like two different people. Her eyes were like a demon from hell, swallowing her up little by little. You've caused my sister to be so miserable. Today you're my hands. What do you think I'll do? Luo Qingchun smiled, but her eyes were cold, even murderous. You're crazy. If I die here, do you think you don't have to be buried with me? Lu Qingxiu moved back and looked around in panic. Didn't you say just now? You have to tell your father. Since I'm going to die either way, why don't I drag you down with me? We'll have a companion on the road to hell. No, Lu Qingxiu shouted loudly, her voice trembling. Don't come over, don't come over. Duh. In the next second, Luo Qingchun heard footsteps from not far away. She took the dagger in her hand, and without hesitation, she cut her fair and delicate arm. Blood gushed out instantly. Mistress! The maidservants behind her were startled. They wanted to go forward to check her wound, but she stopped them. It's okay. She threw the dagger beside Lu Qingxiu and said, In a while, don't talk. Yes, mistress. Lu Qingxiu saw her actions and did not return to her senses. Although she had helped her father do many shady things since she was young, but this was the first time she met such a terrifying person. Without any hesitation, she used the dagger to cut her arm. Qingxiu, until Lu Yuan's deep and dignified voice sounded. Lu Qingxiu seemed to return to her senses. Like a frightened bird, she frantically threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms. Father! Father! Her tears flowed down and she cried, Father, you have to uphold justice for your daughter. This person, she wants to kill me. Miss Lu, how can you invert right and wrong? Luo Qingchun's originally calm face was covered with a layer of grievance at this moment. Lowering his eyes slightly, he looked at his wound and said, You stabbed me with your dagger first. Do you think I can't fight back? Lu Yuan glanced at the wound on Luo Qingchun's arm and frowned. It was probably at this moment that Luo Qingchun realized that the reason Luo Qingchun took out that dagger was not to kill her, but to know. Lu Qingxiu desperately shook her head and said, It's not like that. You're lying. You are clearly. What am I? Luo Qingchun's eyes narrowed slightly, and the corners of her mouth curved into a faint smile. You can't be trying to say that I was the one who cut myself with a dagger, right? You cut yourself. Then why didn't you strangle yourself? Du Jiusheng's cold eyes narrowed as he looked at the wound on her arm. He walked to her side and took the handkerchief at her waist, carefully wrapping it up for her. Lu Yuan's eyes sunk, and he tightly knit his brows. Ninth King, this matter is Qingxiu's fault. She is used to being arrogant in the manner. I never thought that she would do such an absurd thing today. Father, Lu Qingxiu roared out. I didn't hurt her at all. She clearly wanted to kill me. Father, why did you— Shut up. Lu Yuan angrily reprimanded. This is the back garden. You're wrong for coming here. I had you wait in the front yard. Why did you come here? Chapter 38:18. Hearing such a harsh reprimand, Lu Qingxiu's eyes turned red. She felt incomparably aggrieved. She wanted to say something, but she couldn't say anything. Prime Minister, please leave. Du Jiusheng's voice was very cold, without a trace of warmth. Anyone would be able to tell that he was truly angry. Luo Qingchun knew that he wasn't angry because of anyone else, but because of her. Ninth King. Lu Yuan wanted to say something, but Du Jiusheng cut him off. I don't share the same path as the Prime Minister, so I don't have the fortune to enjoy the Prime Minister's plan. I know that the Ninth King is angry right now, but when the King's anger subsides, Yang Yu, this subordinate is here. Send the guest off. Du Jiusheng didn't say another word as he took Luo Qingchen's hand and walked to her room. When they entered the room, Luo Qingchen felt the warmth of the floor spreading to her feet. But when she came to a warm place, her wound hurt a bit. On the way, Du Jiusheng didn't say a word from beginning to end. He tightly held her hand, and only when they reached the room did he let her go. Big brother Jiusheng, shouldn't you thank me? The reason she did this was to take revenge for her big sister and to dampen Lu Qingqiu's arrogance. Secondly, which was the most important reason, she wanted to make Lu Yuan back off. Now that the crown prince was under house arrest, the people in court who supported the crown prince couldn't sit still. Prime Minister Lu Yuan was the one who couldn't sit still the most. Du Jiusheng didn't respond as he suddenly turned and took her in his embrace. He tightly hugged her, like he was using all the strength in his life. Pain, pain, pain. When she was a bit suffocated, Luo Qingchen called out twice. Actually, when they were tightly hugging, although her chest hurt a bit, she enjoyed this feeling very much. It was like the other side was giving his life to her, feeling the warmth between them. You know pain now? He gently lifted her wrist, with blame and heartache in his eyes. Why didn't you feel any pain when you cut yourself? Luo Qingchen gently blinked and whispered, It hurts too. Even if you were cut by a knife, it wouldn't hurt. If I was cut by a knife, it wouldn't be as painful as it is now. Du Jiusheng gave a deep sigh. This is indeed the fastest way to make the prime minister retreat, but I don't want you to go. He didn't know why he had lived his life in the past, but he was very clear that his future life was to protect her. I know I was wrong. Seeing Du Jiusheng's angry and helpless look, Luo Qingchen quickly raised her hands in surrender. I will definitely think of other ways in the future. I won't do this again. You don't have to think of ways to deal with me in the future. That's the greatest kindness you can give me. Du Jiusheng looked down at her wound. The doctor should be here already, but the wound needs to be carefully bandaged. All right. Luo Qingchen took his arm with a coquettish look. So, big brother Jiusheng isn't angry anymore. It depends on your future performance. Luo Qingchen said that in the next half a month, her performance was very good. She didn't go out every day and didn't play around anymore. She seriously healed the wound on her wrist every day. Du Jiusheng was very busy running to the Grand Council every day. Although Great General Luo's son was very close to the 10th King Du Shirgu, he was very close to Du Jiusheng when it came to resisting the enemy. Quick transmigration female lead. Male god, keep teasing. Chapter 38:19. After all, talented people always care about each other. Du Jiusheng had a very good strategy when it came to war. Before Luo's son led the 100,000 Snow Country soldiers out, Du Jiusheng had left him 3 bags. If there was any danger, he could open them one by one. After Luo Qingchen recovered, she would read some military books with Du Jiusheng every day. Although she wasn't at the peak of the art of war, she was definitely better than any military strategist. Of course, and he didn't include Du Jiusheng. After all, he was an astrologer who could see the future just by looking at the stars. How could her half-baked ability to see the future through the previous host's memories compare to his? The time to send out the troops has been set. The candlelight flickered and Luo Qingchen was leaning in his embrace eating desserts as she casually replied, When? The 10th of next month. Du Jiusheng said, The emperor will personally send the Snow Country soldiers out of the city. Luo Qingchen gave a slight nod. I hope that the Snow Country can come back victorious this time. If the Snow Country defeated the Western Region country, then there would be a subversive change to the ending of this world. And I'll also go. Oh, you too. Luo Qingchen jumped out of his embrace and looked at him in surprise. Why is big brother Jiusheng also going? Didn't you say that the military strategist wouldn't go? Without knowing why, as long as Du Jiusheng was on the battlefield, her heart would be filled with panic. I didn't need to go at first. Du Jiusheng saw that her eyes were red and tears were about to come out. He quickly patted her head and said, The emperor personally gave the order for me to go. He wants you to go. Luo Qingchen's eyes trembled as she slightly knit her brows. Could it be that he wants to? Du Jiusheng gave a calm nod. If I help the snow country win this time, I will be the crown prince when I come back. This was a very good thing for Du Jiusheng, since she knew that he was born from a concubine in the cold palace. If he didn't know divination, he wouldn't have been able to take the throne. Not every prince wanted to ascend to the throne, but at the very least, ascending to the throne would ensure the safety of himself and the people around him. I want to go too. Luo Qingshan nodded slightly, a clear glimmer flashing through her eyes. You promised to take me there, but before you go, you have to promise me one thing. What? Marry me. 10 days later, the 9th prince, who had never been close to women, married his first princess consort, the number 1 beauty of Snow Country, Luo Qingshan. The Grand Tutor's mansion had also been unsealed. Although Luo Yu had not yet recovered his official position, the other officials in the imperial court were still very respectful to him. Perhaps most people didn't do it because he used to be Grand Tutor Luo, but because he was now Lord Jiu's father-in-law. The wedding was very grand. Almost all the royalty and nobles of the Snow Empire came to attend. Even the emperor personally sent a congratulatory gift. First bow to the heavens and earth. Du Jiusheng softly took her with the red veil and bowed to the heavens and earth. Second bow to the parents. Luo Yu and Madame Luo's eyes were red as Luo Qingxian's tears fell down. This wasn't sadness. It was a feeling that came from the depths of her heart. Luo Qingxian had never thought that her little sister could be happy. This feeling was even more moving than her being happy. Because to her, she owed Luo Qingshan too much. She wanted to wait until she was of marriageable age before the Luo family opened their doors to receive marriage proposals. Quick transmigration female lead. Male god, keep teasing. Chapter 38:20. As the most beautiful girl in the Snow Country, there would definitely be many men who would come. She thought that she had to be strict and choose the best little sister-in-law. But she didn't know that her little sister's eyes were 1,000 times better than hers. Even if she didn't marry with the most dazzling identity, she was marrying the best man in the world. Husband and wife bow to each other. With the red veil over her head, Luo Qingshan had a smile that was hard to hide. This wasn't her first time marrying him, but each time she married him, the feeling was different. What kind of feeling was this? She felt a warm current flowing through her heart, and other than warmth, there was only warmth. He slowly opened his mouth and said something in her ear that made her nose sour. It was very soft and warm, but it was the most moving words of love he had ever said. The moon on the sea is the moon in the sky, and the person in front is my sweetheart. She finally wasn't in a chaotic world. There wasn't that much deception. Simple and warm. She had become his sweetheart for a long time. After getting married, Luo Qingshan woke up very late every day. There wasn't any special reason. It was just that she slept very late. Why did she sleep for so long? It was self-evident. Du Jiusheng wasn't that busy. After the army was set, he didn't go to the Grand Council. The thing he did the most each day was watch the moon with Luo Qingshan. The snow in the Snow Country was very beautiful because it was covered in snow, so everything was covered in snow. But the people here had never seen anything like this before, so it was a bit of a pity. Luo Qingshan calculated the time and prepared the things they would need for the march. After all, it was a long journey and she didn't have powers here, so she had to prepare some things to avoid unpredictable accidents. Du Jiusheng wasn't in a rush at all. Other than drawing the star chart in the study, he liked to play with her hair and sometimes taught her how to draw some stars. Actually, Luo Qingshan couldn't understand the star chart since it was filled with stars. Du Jiusheng said that any point could change the outcome, even the rise and fall of a large country. So it was very important that there wasn't the slightest deviation. Time passed quickly, and there were only 3 days left before the troops were to be deployed. Unexpectedly, at this critical moment, Luo Qingshan fainted. She didn't know why she fainted. When she got up to get a book for Du Jiusheng, she fainted in front of the bookshelf. Du Jiusheng charged forward like crazy and picked her up. Her face was slightly pale as she lay on the bed with her eyes closed. Her personal maidservant anxiously frowned and said, "Doctor, what's wrong with my Wang Fei? She's usually in good health and hasn't even had a cold before." Why would she faint for no reason this time? Yang Yu frowned and shook his head at the servant girl. He had been by Du Jiusheng's side for many years, so naturally he knew that the most anxious one was His Highness. Although their prince's expression was still indifferent, without the slightest trace of worry, he was extremely anxious in his heart. The doctor took the pulse seriously and said, "Congratulations, Wang Ye. Wang Fei is pregnant." "Wow, that's great. Congratulations, Your Highness. The ninth prince's mansion is going to have a new baby." Normally, Du Jiusheng was very good to the servants. He wasn't strict with them and didn't punish them. If the servants didn't behave properly, at most they would be chased out of the king's palace. The ones that stayed were all very grateful to him. Quick transmigration female lead. Male god, keep teasing. Chapter 38:21. Therefore, when Luo Qingshun was pregnant, everyone was happy for Du Jiusheng. Du Jiusheng's lips curled into a faint smile. Today, everyone in the ninth king's manor will be rewarded with a year's salary to increase their longevity. Everyone knelt down and said in unison, "Thank you, Your Highness." Everyone was happy that the ninth princess consort was pregnant. The only one who wasn't happy was Luo Qingshun. To her, Nianin really came at the wrong time in this life. Or rather, the news of her pregnancy came at the wrong time, even if they found out that she was pregnant on the march. Du Jiusheng definitely wouldn't be assured if she went back alone. What should she do now? Now that she was pregnant, Du Jiusheng definitely wouldn't let her follow him. It's said that a pregnant woman's temper will become irritable. Du Jiusheng was already standing behind her and gently hugged her from behind. "Is the princess consort's mood changing because of your temper?" Luo Qingshun slightly knit her brows and gave a deep sigh. You know why. She didn't seem to give up as she turned to look at him. "Big brother Jiusheng, can I ask you for something?" "No." Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes. Those eyes that were as deep as the sea had a dark glow that people couldn't see through. The most important thing, he didn't hesitate at all and directly rejected her. Luo Qingshun angrily stood up and bit her lip. "You clearly know why I'm unhappy, but you're still saying these meaningless words. How can big brother Jiusheng be like this?" Du Jiusheng saw that her face was red from anger and quickly patted her back before softly hugging her. "If you weren't pregnant, I could take you because I have the ability to protect you. But a march can't be compared to a sightseeing tour. You know that I wouldn't agree." She understood this principle, and she knew why Du Jiusheng didn't let her go. She even knew that no matter how she begged him, it was impossible for him to take her. However, she felt inexplicably afraid. She was deeply afraid that after this farewell, only she and Yin would remain in the ninth prince's residence from now on. To be honest, Du Jiusheng had done this quite a few times. However, whenever she thought about it, she would not be angry at him. She would just feel sad. Luo Qingshun looked down, and her right hand raised his slender fingers before tightly holding them. "Big brother Jiusheng will come back safely, right?" She knew that it was meaningless to say anything more. Even if she secretly followed him, it would be irresponsible to Nianin. In these few lifetimes, the person she had let down the most was Nianin. To her, she had only lost Du Jiusheng. But to Nianin, he had always lost two people. "What are you thinking?" Du Jiusheng saw her worried look and looked at her eyes, revealing a pampering smile. "Of course I will come back, and I will definitely come back safely." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and complained, "You always said that before, but you never kept your promise." "Before?" Du Jiusheng had a bit of doubt in his eyes, but his eyes were as deep as water, so the princess consort not only knows the future, you can also see the past. What is the use of seeing the past? Luo Qingshun crossed her arms and gave a soft snort. "It can't change the ending. It's useless to see anything. So I just want to know." Du Jiusheng gently stroked her cheek. "Was I in your past?" The air was silent for a few seconds before she looked up at Li Guang with sparkling eyes. "I only have you in my past." Quick transmigration female lead. Male god, keep teasing. Chapter 38:22. That night, Luo Qingshun and Du Jiusheng talked for a long time. When it came to their past lives, Du Jiusheng would always be a bit stunned when he heard this. Luo Qingshun asked, What is big brother Jiao Sheng thinking? Du Jiusheng was silent for a bit as a sparkle appeared in his deep eyes. I'm thinking that if their story had a future, how good would that be? It's a pity. Luo Qingchun revealed a helpless smile. Their story doesn't have a future. Sorry. Du Jiusheng's voice was a bit low and there was a faint glow in his eyes, but in the dim candlelight, Luo Qingchun couldn't see it clearly. Big brother Jiao Sheng doesn't need to be sorry. That youth might be even sadder than me. Luo Qingchun softly fell into his embrace. At least whether is happy or sad. I remember it all. She paused for a moment before continuing, but he forgot. Qingchun's words contradict each other. Du Jiusheng softly took her waist and placed a kiss on her forehead. Since he doesn't remember anything, why would he be sad? Because. Luo Qingchun raised her hand and smoothed out his tightly knit brows. I can see the sadness in that youth's eyes. Du Jiusheng closed his eyes, and it was unknown what he was thinking. Perhaps he was hiding the mist in his eyes and that faint sadness. Du Jiusheng pursed his lips and tightly hugged her. You're right, that youth is very sad. He wants to be by your side more than anyone else. Luo Qingchun didn't know why Du Jiusheng gave her such a sad feeling. Perhaps it was because their past story was just too touching, or perhaps it was because he was about to go to the battlefield with the army. She didn't know when they would meet again. She didn't even know if he would live or die. She closed her eyes and smelled the familiar scent from him, falling into a deep dream. On the day Du Jiusheng set off with the army, it didn't snow in the snow country. This was the first time since Luo Qingchun came to this world that there was no snow in snow country. He wore a white robe and stood among the crowd, looking especially dazzling. Luo Qingchun stood on the city wall and looked at his back. His horse took a few steps and then stopped. Perhaps it was because it had followed its master for a long time that it could feel the reluctance in its master's heart. Therefore, he turned back 3 times with every step he took. Later on, for countless days and nights, she would think that if she had ignored Nian An's life and death and followed him regardless of everything, perhaps none of those things would have happened. But this is a story for another time. After Du Jiusheng left, he would write to her every 2 days. Most of them were about the scenery on the road and how he missed her. Luo Qingchun remembered one of the letters very clearly. This is the first time I've experienced the weather in snow country. The sun shines down, and it feels especially warm. If you were with me, how good would it be? I think that I should have brought you. Du Jiusheng, perhaps it was because Du Jiusheng had been in snow country since he was young. He never looked at the time outside. No matter how beautiful the snow scenery was, one would get tired of looking at it. When one saw different scenery and different people, they would pay more attention. Some people would only take a quick glance, and some people would always keep it in their hearts. The snow country and the western regions were equal in strength, so the attacking side would definitely be at a disadvantage. Therefore, when they arrived at the border to set up camp, Du Jiusheng rarely wrote to her. Chapter 38:23. But the military reports were sent from time to time. Luo Qingchun could only know from the military reports that Du Jiusheng was safe. Actually, for her, it didn't matter if the snow country won or not. Du Jiusheng being alive was the most important thing. The fact was that he was alive the entire time, and he was living very well. He was a genius youth who read the stars and divined the future. No matter what the enemy did, he would immediately give a solution. Although it wasn't easy to attack the western regions, it wasn't that hard for the snow country. The war between the snow country and the western regions lasted for a year before the western regions bowed down and the snow country won. At that time, Nian had already been born. When she was about to give birth to Nian, and Du Jiusheng calculated the time and wrote a letter to her. You being well is my life's wish. Du Jiusheng, although she had been pregnant for 10 months, she had spent it alone. Even if the servants took care of her well, she still felt a bit lonely in her heart. This loneliness was because the child's father wasn't by her side, so a pregnant woman would always feel a bit sad. Therefore, Du Jiusheng's letter gave her all the strength. It was fine as long as he was alive. When she came back, she could see the lively and cute Nian. In this life, they could always be by his side. The day Du Jiusheng came back, there was a large snowfall in the snow country. The sky was filled with snow, and the temperature dropped by 10 degrees. It was clearly the day he returned to court, but Luo Qingshun felt very unsettled, and Nian kept crying in his swaddling clothes. Nian rarely cried since he was born, but he cried himself hoarse on the day he came back. Luo Qingshun didn't care about Nian, she just felt that perhaps it was because the weather was too cold that he kept crying, until she carefully dressed up and waited for him at the Ninth King's manor. Yang Yu, who had gone to the battlefield with him, came back first to tell her, "Princess Consort, this master will bring the Western region's princess back to the palace to report to the emperor." Luo Qingshun felt her mind buzz because the words Western region princess, Luo Qingshun had never heard Du Jiusheng mention it before. Why did he bring the princess of the Western regions to report? Luo Qingshun blinked her eyes in confusion. Yang Yu was stunned for a moment. He thought that Luo Qingshun would not ask, but the person in his master's heart was naturally an extremely intelligent woman. How could he not ask? After the surrender of the Western regions, the princess was given to the Snow Empire as a gift. Yang Yu's words were somewhat evasive, making Luo Qingshun's brows knit even tighter. It was normal for the losing side to give their princess to the winning side as a gift in order to establish diplomatic relations between the two countries. But generally speaking, it was the general who brought the gift back to the palace and presented it to the emperor, not a military advisor. More importantly, she hadn't seen Du Jiusheng for an entire year. If it was Big Brother Jiusheng, wouldn't he come to the King Manor to see her as soon as he came back? Not to mention that there was still Nian and then Luo Qingshun raised a brow as she asked back, "What is the reason for your military advisor to personally deliver it?" "Princess Consort," Yang Yu said in a panic. "Let's wait for His Highness to come back and talk to you about this matter. This subordinate can't say much." "There's no need." Luo Qingshun gave a soft snort as a thin mist appeared in her eyes. "I can already guess it. How could she not know what kind of person Du Jiusheng was? If it was just a misunderstanding, Yang Yu wouldn't have said this to her." Chapter 38:24. She didn't know if it was because the weather was too cold or if she couldn't control her emotions. In this sky filled with snow, she felt a stab of pain in her heart, and there was an indescribable feeling of suffocation. When it was evening, she finally saw Du Jiusheng. She didn't change out of her carefully dressed clothes because even if she wasn't willing, she had to be in her best state to see him. Or perhaps them. The princess of the Western regions was called Mu Wanning. She looked to be about 18 years old. She was dressed in red, and her long black hair was tied up like a man's. Her red lips were slightly pursed, and she was wearing a bright red, soft silver gauze lily dress. She looked exceptionally charming. It was indeed a beauty that could captivate birds and beasts. There was a heroic spirit in her eyes, as well as a charming charm. "Your Highness is back." Luo Qingshun's expression changed slightly. Her face was calm, without any clues at all. But perhaps Du Jiusheng knew, and perhaps he didn't. Underneath her calm exterior, there were waves of turbulent emotions running through her heart. He gave a slight nod and walked in her direction. Mu Wanning followed behind him, obediently walking over to him. "Are you all right?" He seemed to have many things to say, but it was like they were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say a single word. He raised his hand, wanting to touch her face, but she took a step back and avoided him coldly. "Does your Highness care?" Luo Qingshun gave a shrug as her lips curled into a faint smile. Her eyes fell onto Mu Wanning as she said, "You've already brought her to the Ninth King's palace. Aren't you going to introduce her? This must be Big Sister Luo Qingshun. I am Mu Wanning. I heard people mention Big Sister's name when I was in the Western region. They said that Big Sister was a country-collapsing beauty, and now that I've seen you, you really do live up to your reputation." Mu Wanning's voice was very lively, like an 18 and 19-year-old girl should be lively. Her large eyes sparkled, and she had a smile on her lips. "You flatter me." Luo Qingshun's voice was very cold. It wasn't full of hostility, but there was no emotion in it. Her indifferent voice was filled with endless emotions. "It's just that you don't need to call me sister. I'm not necessarily older than you. I don't necessarily deserve to be called sister. Qing Chun, Du Jiusheng's cool as water voice wanted to cut her off, but she cut him off first. What? Did I make Prince's heart ache by talking about the princess like that? She admitted that at this moment, she resembled the first madam of the family, reprimanding a concubine. Now that he thought about it carefully, it was indeed not very magnanimous. But she, Luo Qingshun, was probably not that magnanimous. Ahem. Muoner cleared her throat and gave a proper bow. It was reckless just now. Waner greets Wang Fei. Luo Qingshun didn't respond. Instead, she sneered and waved her right hand lightly. Then, she turned around and left. Actually, with her ability to insult people, she could naturally make Mu Waner unable to raise her head. But so what? In the past, she could insult the supporting female lead because the youth in her life was always on her side, but it was different this time. She clearly knew that since Du Jiusheng had brought Mu Waner back, it meant that he had made all his preparations. She really didn't know if those preparations included the option of her leaving him. Luo Qingshan returned to her room and sent away all the servants. She took a deep breath and began to carefully study what happened between the Snow Country and the Western region in the past year. Chapter 38:25. She had most of the information from the battlefield. After all, she was worried about Du Jiusheng's situation, so even if she couldn't see this information, she still read it. There weren't many records about Mu Waner, so there was no mention of her meeting with Du Jiusheng before. According to the report, the person who interacted with Du Jiusheng the most was the Western region's military advisor. However, this military counselor had always been wearing a mask and had never shown his true face. If Mu Waner was the strategist, it could explain the relationship between her and Du Jiusheng. But why? He was Du Jiusheng, not someone else. Was he really that kind of man who would fall in love with another person after being married to her for less than 2 years? No. Even if she saw Mu Waner, she wouldn't believe it. That was her youth. Why wouldn't she believe it? When she talked to Mu Waner just now, although there were some emotions in it, it was more of a test. She wanted to test his reaction, his expression, and his words. Du Jiusheng was a smart person, but he didn't even dare look at her. There were only 2 reasons. 1, he really did love the Western region's princess, and 2, there was something that he couldn't tell her. She stubbornly didn't believe the first, but she couldn't explain the second. In just a short year, the power of the crown prince Du Qi and had gradually collapsed. Before Du Jiusheng came out, Du Shirgu might have been able to compete with him for the crown prince position. But now that Du Jiusheng had returned in triumph, the western regions had ceded land, and even the princess had been sent to establish diplomatic relations. He was already the next candidate for the crown prince in the emperor's eyes. Based on the current situation, Du Jiusheng didn't need to rely on anyone at all. It was even impossible for him to bring Mu Waner back to the 9th King's manor. Why? As she asked herself this, she counted her nose and couldn't help but tear up. Without knowing why, all the grievances in her heart filled her heart, and her tears couldn't help falling. She covered her eyes with her hands and softly cried. Perhaps it wasn't sadness, but rather grievance. After being with Du Jiusheng for so many worlds, she had indeed cried her heart out more than once, but that was because she was sad. It was sad that they couldn't get a good result, even though they wanted it so much. However, it was different this time. She felt wronged. She had been waiting for military reports every day since he left for the battlefield for more than a year. She was deeply afraid that one of the military reports would tell her that something had happened to the military advisor. She was so scared that she didn't dare to turn off the lights and sleep every day. She didn't dare to let herself be in a particularly comfortable state, because every time, the more comfortable she was, the more shocking the accident would be, making her unable to resist. Finally, after a whole year of fear, she got him back. He looked forward to returning safely. Du Jiusheng would never know how happy she was when she heard that they had won and that he was already on his way back to the Snow Country. She was so happy that she almost cried. She admitted that after experiencing so many worlds, she shouldn't be so pretentious. She should be indifferent to everything. However, some people still occupied her heart in the end. He could only be pretentious and could not take it lightly. But what happened in the end? And the result? Du Jiusheng came back safely. But it wasn't just one person who came back, but rather two. Chapter 38:26. In the end, Muwan Air still lived in the Ninth King's manor. She was very lively, often walking around and coming to the Li Palace to greet her from time to time. But she never responded. She just left because she wasn't feeling well. Du Jiusheng never gave her a status, but everyone in the Ninth King's manor respected her. They even treated her as the second master of the Ninth King's manor. At first, Luo Qingshan wanted to get an answer, but she didn't want in the end. In all the previous worlds, she always said that as long as Du Jio was alive, everything else was fine. Now that he was alive, living well, everything was going in the best direction. She should be happy that she had been with him for a long time in this world. But the words between the two of them became fewer and fewer. Actually, it wasn't that Luo Qingshan didn't ask. She remembered that it was the Lantern Festival, and after he finished reading the documents the Emperor gave her, he took her to see the lanterns. Muwan Air was very tactful. She didn't come with him that day. After putting on the lanterns, she was wearing a water-green brocade robe with a cloud embracing fortune hairpin on her head. Looking at her reflection in the water, she slightly knit her brows. "You've always been quiet. I thought that you wouldn't agree to come out." Du Jiusheng's lips curled into a faint smile as he looked up at the stars with eyes that were as deep as the sea. "The days in the manor are boring." She looked at the lanterns in front of her and said, "Coming out for a walk makes me feel more free." He knew what she was saying, but he didn't respond. Luo Qingshan threw the lantern in her hand into the water and said, "Can I ask Big Brother Jiusheng one last question?" He nodded faintly. His eyes were gloomy and filled with an unfathomable light. "Will you regret it?" The snowflakes softly fell onto her hand, and he put on the pure white coat for her. After a while, he said, "If you gain something in this world, you will lose something. I look at the stars at night. How could I not know?" She was stunned for a moment. She looked away and closed her eyes. She took a deep breath and said, "I can." She paused for a moment and controlled her trembling voice. "May I ask why?" "I want to protect the people of Snow Country and protect the world of Snow Country." He looked at the stars in the sky, and his eyes suddenly brightened. "This is what I promised my father, and perhaps the meaning of my life." Silence, silence, silence. There was a period of silence. After an unknown period of time, she raised her head and looked at the same starry sky as him. Tears streamed down her face as she pursed her lips and said, "I understand." After that day, she never asked about Du Jiusheng again. Muwaner often went to the study to look for him, but she never went there again. Muwaner liked spicy food, so the kitchens separated their dishes. Luo Qingshan didn't mind, but she never went to the kitchen again. Muwaner liked to wear brighter clothes. She usually liked to wear plain clothes. After the lantern incident that day, she never wore brighter clothes again. However, they would often appear in the mansion. She knew that this was Mu Wan-er's request. Time passed very quickly, and Nian grew day by day. Luo Qingshan couldn't help thinking, wasn't this the ending she wanted the most? Du Jiusheng was by her side, and Nian was by her side. Wasn't it good for a long time? There wasn't a single person for a lifetime. Perhaps it would always be torture for her. Time passed too quickly or too slowly. In the beginning, she would find all kinds of excuses to cover for him in her heart. Later, she was too lazy to find any excuses. Chapter 38:27. Because nothing happened. Mu Wan-er had lived in the Ninth King's manor for close to half a year. The world was peaceful and nothing happened. Du Jiusheng's position in court gradually stabilized, and the emperor trusted him, making him the crown prince not long after. But he didn't have a crown princess. There were rumors in the palace that the crown prince was obsessed with the Western princess and wanted to make her his crown princess. Hearing these rumors, Luo Qingshan felt that it was normal. After all, she hadn't seen Du Jiusheng in a long time. He didn't look for her, and when he came back, they didn't talk to each other. Some people didn't know why. They were clearly familiar with each other, but they separated after walking for a while. This was when she was the most confused because she kept telling herself in her heart, as long as you could be together for a lifetime. So what if there's another Muwan heir? But no matter how she tried to convince herself, she couldn't do it in the end. He had said to her before that a lifetime of mountains and rivers would be given to one person. But now it was already a fleeting cloud, and the world had changed. Muwan heir seemed to like puppets very much. She would have a housekeeper buy some from time to time, and use them to carve some small things. Du Jiusheng seemed to have been infected by her, wildly carving puppets for a period of time. She heard the servants say that the light in his study was on, but he wasn't reading memorials. Rather, he was carving wood. He was a careful person, but he often cut his fingers. When Muwan heir heard this, she went to give him medicine and didn't forget to laugh at him. Although I like these small things, your highness doesn't need to learn. I know your intentions and will remember this master's good intentions. He softly replied, seriously carving the puppet in his hand. If she heard this from someone else, she definitely wouldn't have believed it. But when she wanted to give Du Jiusheng the medicine, she heard it with her own ears. What kind of feeling was that? It was probably because his heart had slowed down by half a beat, but the scary thing was that he didn't know it had suddenly stopped. There was a delusion in her mind that perhaps it was good that it stopped. The days passed like this. Du Jiusheng didn't give Muwan heir status, but he also didn't give her the title of crown princess. It was because the days in the manor were too depressing, so she liked to dress up as a man and go out to watch plays. There were times when she felt that watching plays was a good way to pass time. With a pot of tea and a plate of desserts, she could sit in the theater all day, listening to the stories in the plays, listening to their joys and sorrows. Every time she finished listening, Luo Qingchun would mutter to herself, "This story isn't even a tenth of what I've seen." One day, a young man in white responded to her words. "So, can you tell me the story?" Luo Qingchun looked up, and a jade-like face appeared in front of her. "That's right. He's story Luo to me." Luo Jio's a person. There was a faint recollection on his body, like ink like green grass, and also like the freshness after the spring rain. "You are Muumu's." This was his first time seeing Mu Qing, but he didn't know why he felt like he was an old friend. His family lived in the west of the city, and his parents were merchants, so it was considered a small family. He was the only son in the family, and his parents loved him very much. He liked listening to stories since he was young. He heard stories when he was young, and he listened to his master tell stories when he grew up. Chapter 38:28. So Qingchun comes here to watch the opera every day? Mu Qing scratched his head and said, "If you come tomorrow, then What will you do?" "I'll also come." Luo Qingchun felt bored, so she took a sip of tea and said, "All right, it's a promise." The next morning, Luo Qingchun changed into female clothes. Although she wasn't dressed up, she still put on some makeup and headed to the theater. Although she had a veil over her face, her eyes were still nation collapsing. Even if no one recognized her as the #1 beauty of the snow country, there were many people who stopped and took a few more looks. Why did she change into female clothes? She clearly knew her appearance. She clearly knew her identity. She clearly knew that it would bring trouble to Du Jiusheng if she changed into female clothes. But she still did this. Why? Why? Perhaps only she knew the answer to this. When she saw Mu Qing again, he had the same smile as yesterday, just like a child. Innocent and pure, his eyes were so clean that she couldn't help taking a few more looks. This pair of eyes that could see through everything, it was completely different from Du Jiusheng's low-spirited eyes. He was surprised. He looked at Luo Qingchun in front of him with a bit of surprise in his eyes. "What? It's only been a single day, and young Master Mu doesn't recognize me?" Luo Qingchun sat down in front of him and took off her veil. Her lips curled into a faint smile as she said, "It seems like young Master Mu's memory needs to be improved. This little one remembers Miss." Mu Qing took a few more looks at her before looking away in an embarrassed manner. "But I never thought that young master would become a miss. It's a good thing that I brought home wine today. It really isn't appropriate." "What's wrong?" Luo Qingchun gave a shrug and a faint smile. "I'm very tired from worrying, but drinking a few cups is a happy thing. Is that really all right?" "Of course," Mu Qing said, that his parents always wanted him to be the top scorer, but he had no interest in the imperial examinations since he was young. His favorite things were poems and songs. Luo Qingchen was a little tipsy. She listened to Mu Qing murmuring, "A fair lady is a good match for a gentleman." However, she knew that it was impossible for her to get drunk. There was no alcohol in this world that could make her drunk. It was the person who was drunk, and it was the heart that was drunk. People who stopped after getting drunk were all lonely in their hearts, and they had unspeakable worries in their hearts. Qingchen. When her vision was blurry, she heard Mu Qing's voice, farther and farther away, floating and sinking. When he opened his eyes again, he was in a quiet courtyard. Luo Qingchen scratched her head. She didn't expect that she had really fallen asleep. This was not the ninth prince's residence. So this was, "Miss, are you awake?" A maid wearing pink clothes walked in and said, "This is Mu Manor. Miss, if you want to wash your face, please go to the front hall to have your breakfast." When Master and Madam saw that young Master brought Miss back, they were very happy and made a table full of dishes. Luo Qingchen frowned slightly. "What time is it now?" "It's noon. It's the second day." "Yes." Luo Qingchen immediately got up, dressed neatly, and left Mu Manor. She didn't even say goodbye to Mu Qing. Suddenly, she felt that she was a little willful. When she hurried to the front of the residence, she slowly stopped. Aha! She laughed at herself, but there was endless loneliness in her heart. Why was she in such a hurry? She had left the ninth prince's residence for a day and a night. Chapter 38:29. That youth, that husband who had bowed to heaven and earth, that Nianan's father, had he come to find her? The answer was very clear. They hadn't seen each other in a long time. Most of the time, it was just a quick meeting. She didn't know how many times Mu Wan Air had seen him. She just knew that he didn't come back at night and was spending more and more time in the palace. Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and walked into the king's palace. The guard saluted as a matter of routine, and she headed straight for the Li Palace. Everything was normal. There was no change at all. On the contrary, her personal maid, Little Z, was particularly nervous. Her whole face was deathly pale. "Princess Consort, you're finally back." Xiaozi patted her chest and said, "If you didn't come back, this servant wouldn't know what to do." She still liked calling her Princess Consort, even if Du Jiusheng was the crown prince and the crown princess hadn't been decided yet. "What are you worried about?" Luo Qingchen sat down and poured tea for herself as she said, "Are you afraid that I'll be lost or that the crown prince will blame you?" "This servant," Luo Qingchen took a sip of tea, "I won't be lost and the crown prince won't blame you." "Princess Consort," Xiaozi lowered her head. "The crown prince still loves the princess consort, although loves? Do you really think that he doesn't know that I left the Ninth King Manor? Do you really think that he doesn't know that I didn't come back at night? Do you really think that he—" After saying this, Luo Qingchen felt a breath stuck in her throat that couldn't come out. She touched her heart and said the rest of her words in a trembling voice. "Do you really think that he cares?" Tears fell down her cheeks, and she couldn't hold it back. She covered her hands with her palms, not letting the tears come out of her eyes. After that day, Luo Qingchen began going to the theater more often. Occasionally, when it was early, she would go to Mu Qing's house to eat. The first time she left in such a rush, she was always embarrassed. When she came the second time, she even brought gifts for the two elders. Her relationship with Mu Qing was very simple. They were just friends who liked to watch plays together. Sometimes, they would guess the ending of the show together. Mu Qing rarely guessed it correctly, but she basically never guessed it wrong. Most of the plays on this stage were routine. There had to be one or two deaths. There had to be a bit of separation between life and death. Only then would it move people's hearts. From the looks of it, her story here was really nothing special. There was even a faint sense of vulgarity in the dullness. Mu Qing would always bring her all kinds of delicious food. She seemed to have never eaten these delicious food in the Ninth Prince's residence. He said that other than watching plays, he especially liked to make desserts. "Looks like you're really virtuous." Luo Qingchen chuckled. "No wonder your family only as we as a maidservant. It turns out that you know everything. Indeed, you don't need to recruit more people." Mu Qing scratched his head shyly. I just make it casually. If Qingchen likes it, I will make it for you every day. Uff, Luo Qingchen chuckled while eating a pastry. If you were a woman, there would be many men coming to propose marriage. He was stunned for a moment. After a long time, he muttered, but I'm a man. It's good to be a man. Your future wife will be very happy. After saying this, her heart sank a bit. The speed at which she ate the pastry became a bit slower. She didn't know why, but it was always like this in this world. Often, because of one sentence, her entire mind would be sucked out, and she would feel like her mind was blank. Nervous and flustered, sad and desperate. Transmigration female lead. Male god, keep teasing. Chapter 38:30. Mu Qing was silent for a bit before saying after a while, So Qingchen will be willing to marry me? His voice pulled her thoughts back to reality. Luo Qingchen was stunned as she suddenly looked into Mu Qing's deep eyes. Without knowing why, she felt that Mu Qing's eyes were very familiar at this moment. This kind of familiarity was pure to the bone. There was a blurry scene that suddenly flashed in front of her. It was very familiar, but it couldn't be seen clearly. I won't hide it. Luo Qingchen's lips curled into a faint smile. I'm already married. Luo Qingchen could feel Mu Qing's expression change when he heard this, and she could see his feelings. If it was before, she would have already distanced herself from Mu Qing. But she didn't do this time and became friends with him. As for why, only she knew. Perhaps she wanted to see someone's endurance, or perhaps she was just a joke from beginning to end. I really never thought. Mu Qing was very embarrassed, but he couldn't hide the disappointment on his face. I thought that you... She looked at the snow in the sky and gave a cold laugh. Actually, not only did you think this, even I thought this. She also thought that she wasn't married yet, like she was still on the road to find Du Jiusheng, waiting for a romantic encounter or a moving encounter. But she had already known Du Jiusheng for 2 years. She had been married to him for a year. However, he still felt that everything was so unfamiliar. Actually, I saw you in a daze and knew that you had something in your heart, but I didn't dare ask. I just never thought that you would already be married. Mu Qing's voice was very gentle, like a breeze that swept away the haze in her heart. So, since I'm already married, I'm no longer your friend? Her voice was very soft, so it wasn't really appropriate to ask that question. She hadn't teased anyone or joked with anyone in a long time. Seeing Mu Qing's nervous appearance, she couldn't help wanting to joke with him. But she didn't know that he would fall into a very nervous state as he desperately shook his head. No. How could that be possible? Whether Qingchen is married or not, we are still good friends who watch operas together. She chuckled and nodded after a long time. All right, in the next month, Du Jiusheng became busier, and she spent less and less time with him in a manner. Time was a wonderful thing. It could smooth out many edges. Now, when she occasionally saw Mu want her in the mansion, she did not feel that she was an eyesore. Probably because she had been cold to her for so long, Mu Wanner also knew that she didn't like her, but she also rarely appeared. Luo Qingchen sometimes felt that she was ridiculous. She thought that she was a very kind person. If it wasn't for the fact that he was an impure person, she wouldn't have treated him so coldly. This was perhaps the first person in so many worlds who had never harmed her, but she treated her coldly. Women, after all, it was a jealous creature. She wasn't jealous before because this kind of person had never appeared between her and Du Jiusheng. She was caught off guard and didn't know how to face it. So, running away became the best choice. Du Jiusheng didn't spend much time in the king's palace, and she didn't spend much time in the king's palace either. She spent most of her time in the theater and then went back with Mu Qing to eat the dishes cooked by the old madam and master. Chapter 38:31. The dishes they made were really delicious. Each dish suited her taste. She couldn't help thinking of when she had just entered the king's palace. At that time, the entire kitchen made her favorite dishes every day. Du Jiusheng said that her tastes were strange in the beginning, but later he also liked it. But although there were still the dishes she liked in the kitchen, it was like half the stove had been given to others. Even if it was the same ingredients, the taste was completely different. There was an inexplicable spiciness that made her eyes turn red. Du Jiusheng sent Yan Yu to find her on a lazy afternoon. She and Mu Qing were sitting in the theater, listening to the fickle love poem. The story was about a girl who fell in love with two men at the same time. But she wasn't a fickle person. She didn't fall in love with anyone else. She only loved these two people and was even willing to sacrifice her life for these two people. This story couldn't help making Luo Qingchen's head hurt when she heard it, but Yang Yu came at this time. He kneeled down and bowed to her. This master is about to ascend the throne. Yang Yu was used to calling him master outside since the word crown prince could easily cause panic. He was about to ascend the throne. She should have guessed this. After all, in this year, the emperor's body gradually became worse. This was normal. The snow country was covered in ice all year round, and being in a low temperature for a long time would cause great harm to the human body. In this place, people didn't live long. Therefore, the emperor was anxious to have Du Jiusheng go to the battlefield. That way he could properly make him the crown prince. But there was one thing that Luo Qingsheng didn't know. It was the conversation the emperor had with Du Jiusheng before he died. Ku. The emperor laid in bed and coughed for a long time before stopping. He took 2 breaths and said, "This one's imperial edict has already been drafted. After this one dies, you will ascend the throne as the snow country's king. Royal father, don't worry, the doctor will definitely." Du Jiusheng's voice was very calm. He knew that his royal father couldn't last long. There were no external factors, and everyone had their own destiny. This one is clear on my own body. Ku. You just need to promise this one thing. Imperial father, please speak. I've been on the throne for so many years, and I've carefully weighed everything I've done. I've never truly let anyone down. But these days, when I was lying in bed, I thought of the matter of Grand Tutor Luo being banished to the frontier. I feel deeply guilty. Even though the Grand Tutor has returned, there are some things that cannot be made up for. Imperial father, we know that you brought back a princess from the western regions, but cough. I also heard that you treated the princess very well and neglected the daughter of the Luo family. After all, the princess of the western region is a gift to ask for peace. She can't become the queen of snow country, the emperor said anxiously. He coughed for a while before he recovered. This child understands. Du Jiusheng said, as for the matter of the future empress, this child will be careful. No, I want you to make an oath regarding the mountains and rivers of Snow Empire. Even if it was the emperor who was about to take his last breath, he had never relaxed for even a moment. What oath does imperial father need this child to make? If you make the western region princess Mu Wan heir your empress, she will not have a good death, and her soul will not be able to rest. The emperor's eyes were filled with reluctance, but his voice was firm. Don't blame imperial father for being ruthless. This isn't that hard for you. Imperial father is afraid that you, Ku, will be confused by the charm of the western regions. Chapter 38-32. Everyone in the world knew that the western regions were good at using charm techniques. Du Jiusheng didn't hesitate to leave Luo Qingsheng in the manor, not hesitating to have his guards escort her to the border. That kind of deep affection had suddenly changed. He always felt that on this trip to the western regions, his son might have been bewitched. That's why he brought the western region's princess back and took care of her like this. From his understanding of Du Jiusheng as a father, if he didn't really like her, how could he do something like this? Du Jiusheng didn't hesitate at all as he looked down. There was a sparkle in his eyes as he softly said, "Your son promises royal father that if your son takes Mu Wan heir as the empress, I will die a horrible death and my soul will not be able to rest." Good. Royal father is happy. Royal father is very happy. When Luo Qingsheng returned to the manor after bidding farewell to Mu Qing, the manor was already covered in white silk. Mu Wan heir had already put on her white clothes and was planning to enter the palace. Today is a big matter. She looked at her face and didn't call her big sister anymore. Her voice wasn't disrespectful, but also wasn't flattering. You should hurry up. It won't be good if you're blamed later. She softly replied and didn't say anything else as she quickly changed her clothes. Mu Wan heir's horse carriage hadn't left yet, like it was waiting for her. Hearing her footsteps, she lifted the curtain and said, "If we enter the palace one after the other, people will definitely gossip. Now, this prince is no longer the crown prince." Luo Qingxun looked at Mu Wan-er's face and was a bit stunned at that moment. She could clearly see the Li Guang in her eyes. Whether she was a good person or a bad person, whether she had a reason for coming to the Ninth King Manor or not, there was one thing that she was certain of. She could see the care and love for Du Jiusheng in her eyes. During this period of time, what she did the most every day was to go to the theater to listen to the opera. Occasionally, she would tease Nianen. Most of the time, she was living her own life in a state of relaxation. Perhaps it wasn't relaxing, but rather escaping. Since there was no answer no matter how she thought about it, then forget it. Let nature take its course. But Muoner was different. She should have been by his side for almost a year. After all, there were many people who coveted his position as the crown prince. During the most difficult times of his life, when he needed companionship the most, she was not by his side. Beside him was another woman, a woman who perhaps also loved him very much. Okay. 3 seconds later, Luo Qingxun came back to her senses and sat in the carriage. Muoner didn't say anything along the way. Naturally, she couldn't talk to her. The atmosphere between the two of them could not be said to be awkward. It was more of a speechless silence. Perhaps they did not like each other's existence in this world, but they would not do despicable things for their own purposes. When they arrived at the Hall of Supreme Harmony, it was already noon. The palace was filled with wailing and crying. Luo Qingxun and Mu Wan-er were kneeling at the very back. She tilted her head slightly and looked into his eyes that were as deep as ink. It was somewhat unfamiliar, yet somewhat familiar, but she really hadn't seen those eyes in a long time. After kneeling for around 2 hours, Yang Yu came to her side and bowed. "Empress, please come with this subordinate." "Where are we going?" "Empress, you'll know soon." She felt like her knees weren't hers when she stood up. Mu Wan, kneeling beside her, also seemed to be in pain, but she didn't say anything. Chapter 38-33. Yang Yu brought her to a palace. When Luo Qingxun walked in, she felt a warmth that came from under her, and it was even warmer under her feet. There was a faint sandalwood scent in the air. It was the scent she liked. There were exquisite pastries on the table and a pot of her favorite by Luo Chan. Perhaps it was because she hadn't felt this feeling of being cared for in a long time, or perhaps it was the sandalwood scent that filled her eyes. But her eyes couldn't help turning red. After being here for a long time, she found that she had become more sentimental, and her eyes couldn't help turning red from time to time. She was moved, sad, and desolate. She didn't seem to have a bad life, but if she was talking about happiness, she really wasn't. "Empress, please rest here for a bit. When it's time, this subordinate will come back to call the Empress." "So?" Luo Qingxun was a bit surprised before saying, "I don't need to go. Master says there's no need." Why didn't Du Jiusheng let her go? Actually, her first reaction was that he was afraid that she would be cold if she knelt for too long. But after what he did during this time, she was a bit hesitant when she thought this. After around 6 hours, the door to the room opened with a kacha sound. Du Jiusheng was wearing a white robe as he walked in. She looked at him and didn't say anything. He just silently looked at her, and after a while, he said, "This will be your palace from now on." When Luo Qingxun came in, she had seen the plaque of this palace. It seemed like it had been renovated, and it had the same name as the one in the king's palace. It was called the Li Palace. Hee. It was at this moment that Luo Qingxun finally understood why she had been sitting in this palace for 6 hours. Each palace in the Snow Country's royal palace had its own name. The concubines could live in any palace they wanted, but there was only one person who couldn't. That was the Empress. The Snow Country's Empress had to live in the Endless Palace. This was a rule and a symbol of status. Du Jiusheng looked down as his bottomless eyes filled with complicated emotions. "Perhaps you want to live in another palace. The Endless Palace. Will the Emperor let me live in it?" Luo Qingxun could clearly feel that her voice was trembling when she said this. Silence, silence, silence. After a few seconds, he said, "I've already had Yang Yu clean up the Endless Palace. Tomorrow, Wana will." Pung. Luo Qingchen's white sleeve suddenly pushed out, and the teacup on the table fell to the ground. The guard outside immediately said, "Your Highness, do you want this subordinate to come in?" "No need." Luo Qingchen felt that this was the most impulsive moment of her life. The calmer couldn't control herself at that moment. "Go away, go away, go away." She almost shouted herself hoarse. "Never, never come looking for me again. Luo, I've had enough." The tears in her eyes were like a broken string of pearls, dripping down drop by drop. She softly bit her lip and said, "I really have had enough. If you have any difficulties, you can tell me, But month after month, year after year, how can I find an excuse for you? I have to convince myself that you, Du Jiusheng, still love me, Luo Qingchen. Sorry big brother Jiusheng, I really can't find an excuse." Chapter 38-34. In the end, Du Jiusheng didn't give her any explanation. She knew that he wouldn't explain, or perhaps there was no explanation at all. Looking out the window of the Li Palace, the night sky was very beautiful. The stars were arranged in layers, like it was an imaginary world. That was her first time arguing with Du Jiusheng. Perhaps it wasn't an argument, it was just her emotions shattering and collapsing. Muwan Heir's Empress coronation was in 7 days. Du Jiusheng had personally decreed that she didn't need to attend. Actually, whether he decreed it or not, she wouldn't have gone. What was the point? If the eyes don't see, the heart won't be troubled. If the heart doesn't move, it won't hurt. Other than this decree, Du Jiusheng also gave her another decree. No matter when, she could leave the palace to play, and no one could stop her. When she received this decree, her lips curled into a taunting smile. He knew everything. He knew everything, including her going out to watch plays, including Mu Qing's appearance. Not only did he not stop her, he followed her wishes. She was too lazy to guess the reason, since there were some things that couldn't be solved by guessing. But since Du Jiusheng wanted this result, she would follow his wishes. Staying in the palace every day was a kind of torture. Going out became the thing she looked forward to the most. Mu Qing was the same as before, watching plays with her every day. He liked wearing white clothes and could be recognized in a crowd. He would often bring some snacks, and the Mu family's second child would often make delicious things for him. Their days were considered free. Du Jiusheng governed the snow country very well, and the country was peaceful. Muwan Heir had always been obedient after taking the empress position. There had never been any singing or dancing in the Endless Palace. Luo Qingchen gradually felt that Muwan Heir's personality had changed. She was no longer as lively as when she was in the manor. She would often read books after becoming the empress. She didn't know what she was reading. She just knew that there were books sent to her from the Hidden Book Pavilion. There was one time when a little eunuch accidentally bumped into her, and she found that it was some unorthodox medical skills. Muwan Heir's body had always been good, and she rarely got sick, so she didn't know why she was reading medical skills. The only thing that made her happy in the palace was that Nian had grown up. Nian was really smart. She could recite poems and compose poems before she was 2 years old. She looked like a little adult. Du Jiusheng liked him very much, personally teaching him everything. If there was anything in her palace that made her feel like she could still smile, it was probably when she was teaching Nian and in the study with him. Imperial Father taught you to read and write not, because he hoped that you would become a scholar in the future. Then what kind of person does Father want Nian to become? Nian's childish voice made the corners of her mouth unconsciously curl into a smile. Du Jiusheng was silent for a bit before looking at Luo Qingchen and softly saying, "Royal Father hopes that Nian can protect the person she wants to protect and never let her down." Luo Qingchen was surprised. She really hadn't seen Du Jiusheng like this in a long time. It was a feeling of gentleness, as if a lifetime had passed. "Qingchen, let's go out for a walk tomorrow." Du Jiusheng looked at her, and there was a sparkle in his eyes as he said, "Bring Nian in with you." Tomorrow was Nian's birthday. He knew that she wouldn't reject him when it came to Nian, and Luo Qingchen still hesitated. Although it had been a while since she lost control of her emotions, there were still many things that were hard to settle in her heart.